You mean the boat that always breaks down?
Good afternoon, everybody. This is a Livingston Parish Council meeting. Today is December the 5th, 2019. It's a few minutes after 6:30 p.m. All right. Invocation, that would be by Mr. Councilman Jeff Avery.
Miss Sandy, would you like to do that for us? Well, I wasn't prepared, please.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for being able to come here tonight and the freedom that we have, Lord, to stand here tonight. Lord, we pray for your protection, and we thank you for the wonderful parish that we live in. Lord, we pray for your grace to just keep your hand on us, Lord, because we need you. Lord, we acknowledge the need that we have for you. Lord, we pray that you would be here with us tonight. Help the councilmen to make good and wise decisions for the people that they represent. And Lord, we promise to give you all the praise because you alone are worthy. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, Mr. Gary Talbot, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Glad to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
That's starting off right.
Roll call.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Averett.
Here.
Mr. Ledwell.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Erlenhouse.
Here.
Mr. Ard.
Here.
Mr. Mack.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Talbot.
Here.
All right. We would ask that everybody silence their cell phones at this particular moment so that we don't have any interruptions during the meeting. Public input. Anyone wishing to address any of the agenda items is certainly welcome to do so. As the agenda item comes up for discussion, you can simply raise your hand and we would call upon you, one at a time, and you can come to the podium and state your name and your address and certainly talk about what you'd like to talk about. And let's try to do the very best we can to limit those conversations or discussions to 2 to 3 minutes per person. Try not to repeat ourselves so that we can have a productive and efficient council meeting. All right. Presentations. Agenda item number 7. This is the recognition of Gabrielle Blanchard, a senior at French Settlement High School, for winning the 2019 Council Christmas Card Art Contest. She happens to live in Councilman Jeff Averett's district, and Tab Lobel and Jeff Averett. Oh goodness, they're so close. They're intermingled.
Intertwined. We have each year students in the parish submit art for our Christmas card, and man, we have some really talented kids in this parish. And this year we asked it is something that kind of represents the parish. And this is especially out in my district. There's a lot of you see that. So that was my vote. And so do you like to come up there?
I gonna do with him?
Don't pick on me. I'll get upset for crying.
All right, agenda item number 8. This is to adopt a resolution authorizing Ward 2 Water District, Parish of Livingston, State of Louisiana, to proceed with the issuance and delivery of its not to exceed $3 million taxable water revenue bonds in one or more series, and otherwise providing with respect thereto. Mr. Jim Ryan, would you like to say a few words about this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Jim Ryan with Government Consultants. This is a resolution allowing Ward 2 Water to proceed with a application to Department of Health and Hospitals for the State Revolving Loan Fund to borrow $2 million from DHH.
All right.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion to adopt that resolution by Gary Talbert, second by Jeff Averett. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to say anything about this particular agenda item? No? Anybody from the council? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Looks like we're good to go.
Chairman, appreciate it.
See you around, man. Agenda item number 9, this is the adoption of the minutes from the November the 21st, 2019 regular meeting of the council. Got a motion by Tracy Gerlinghouse, second by Mr. Bubba Harris. Any discussion from the audience? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right. This is agenda item number 10. This is a public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-39. I will now open the public hearing. Sandy, would you like to read that ordinance?
Yes.
Right.
This is proposed ordinance number 19-39. This is an ordinance to amend chapter 50, offenses dash miscellaneous of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish by adding section 50-15, syringe services program.
All right. I'll try to summarize this to the best of my ability. And if anybody has anything to add or any of the audience has any questions, feel free to raise your hand and let's talk about this ordinance. Okay, so to the best of my knowledge, this particular ordinance allows a private entity to come into Livingston Parish and operate a syringe exchange program. And it's to my understanding that the purpose of this is to reduce the spread of hazardous disease, you know, that is spread through bodily fluid exchange, right? And so what happens is you know, those that have chosen to use illegal drugs are able to come to this particular facility that's operated and exchange dirty needles for new needles, right? It's in hopes to get the dirty needles that are infected with the hazardous disease off the streets so that innocent individuals could, you know, prevent, you know, from catching such disease, you know, because it's to my understanding that hepatitis, you know, the amount of people in Livingston Parish that have hepatitis, we rank, I think, the 4th parish of the state. I think that's, we can clarify that, but that's based on population, you know, percentage, and I think it would be a good thing, you know, that if we could prevent such a occurrence from happening, right? By no means do I promote and the use of illegal drugs. I don't believe that that's what this program is about. The individuals that actually come to the facility can actually seek help that possibly, you know, stop doing that type of thing, you know, and maybe go down the correct path, you know. To the best of my knowledge, it's a fairly funded program, right? It would not come out of parish budget to fund such a program. This program being funded wouldn't reduce the amount of roads being overlaid or ditches dug or anything in that way, shape, or form. This program would be, like I said, it would be a grant issue to a private entity, to the best of my knowledge, a federal grant, right? So, like I say, this allows this private entity to come into the parish. This is not a Livingston Parish operated program by the council. Now, that being said, if anybody else would like to express some comments, or if anybody from the audience would like to, say a few things, it's time now to talk about it. So, I'm gonna get you soon. Tracy, did you raise your hand?
No, I was saying.
I apologize.
Public hearing, so.
Right. Okay, so, ma'am, did you wanna come up and say anything? What, yeah, you have to come up and state your name and your address. It's just part of the deal here.
Linda Glasscock, 29847 South Popular Street, Livingston. This is a good program, I believe, but it is federally funded, and I think if the federal government was going to do anything, they need to try to, I think, help people with diabetes that's having to spend thousands of dollars per month, some of them are, and give them needles instead of, and I'm not saying that it's not a good program, but, and they do need help, but I just don't agree with this. And so, and when you get federal money in, you're really bringing in a lot of problems, because federal government is the way I feel about it.
Okay.
So,
I would like-
that's all I've
Well
got to
said.
say.
Thank you so much.
Well said, well said. Anybody else want to comment on public
Does
hearing?
anybody else wanna comment on this particular agenda item?
I do.
All right, Mr. Jeff Faber.
I'm sort of like what Miss Linda just said. I spend thousands of dollars a year on diabetic medicine. Needles, federal government ain't offered to pay a red cent on mine. So what's the difference? They're the ones that choose to be illegal. I don't do nothing illegal, and I don't get mine paid for, but if I go out there and do it illegally, they gonna pay for it? Don't make sense to me.
Gotcha. Now, understand too, that they don't just give away needles. Now, this is a needle exchange, so you have to have a dirty needle and exchange it to get I guess you could say, a new clean needle. And I would agree that,
Motion to close.
we should do more, to, help those in need, but a vote yea or nay, regardless of how you feel, wouldn't give more money to provide that type of needles to people with diabetes, that this program, I guess you could say, was put in place by the federal government to try to, I guess you could say, reduce the amount of, hazardous disease, within the parish, so. Anybody else have anything to say?
You got somebody else?
Public meeting.
Okay.
Let's
Public
close the
hearing?
vote.
Yes.
Let's close the vote.
Anybody else from the audience have anything to say? Come on up, ma'am.
Let's get the public hearing closed, and then we can talk about all we want.
Yeah.
And if we keep talking, we're just gonna add to the public hearing.
My name is Deidre Sellers. I live in District 6. I'll be speaking with regard to this matter on a personal capacity rather than as a member of any organization, as I may later this evening. The day before my birthday in 2015, I buried my mother, dead as a result of the opioid crisis. She was a medical professional. The 1st of January marks 2 years since I attended the funeral of one of my very best friends from childhood, dead as a result of the opioid crisis. He was a lawyer, barred in 3 separate states, and a graduate of Southern University. It touches anybody and everybody. I believe you will vote for this regardless of the desire of the people, because there are federal funds involved. However, I I'm begging you, as someone who has seen the results close up and personal, that you do not do this to the people of Livingston Parish. I understand that the sentiment behind this may be a good one, but I do not believe that the results will be anything good for this parish. I heard you mention just now that you have to have a dirty needle in order to receive a clean one. I would like confirmation of that regardless of your vote this evening, because it came to mind the litter problem that we have in this parish, and I cannot even fathom the idea of needles that are given away free to people who have no care for themselves or anyone else, just throwing them wherever they please. So I'm asking you, do not allow a private entity or anyone else to come into this parish and give away free needles to drug addicts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anybody else? Ma'am, come on up.
I am Dr. Gina Lagarde, the Regional Medical Director for the Office of Public Health, and I just wanted to thank those that have expressed, their comments today regarding the Syringe Services Program, and I'm available to address any questions that you all may have. I just want to share some data to help you out regarding Livingston Parish. Livingston Parish we have 64 parishes in our state. Livingston is first out of the 64 parishes with hepatitis A cases. They rank 5th out of the 64 parishes for heroin-involved deaths, and 5th out of the parishes for the number of emergency room visits and hospitalizations. Livingston Parish ranks 7th out of the 64 parishes for opioid poisoning deaths, and this is by rate. And 6th out of the 64 parishes for hepatitis C infection cases. It's here in our community. Just to tell you about the syringe exchange program, the syringe services program. Needle exchange is just one component of that program. I mean, the folks who inject drugs are already marginalized and they're hidden, but they are our family members, our children. It's in our community. The data is saying that. And the good thing about the syringe services program, it is a comprehensive community program. It's a tool to help fight the opioid epidemic, hepatitis infection epidemic, and HIV. And the thing about the needle exchange, that brings folks in to the building. And then we can provide all the other services like education to help them understand that addiction is a disease. And then we can provide them with life-saving Narcan that helps reverse the overdose symptoms. We can provide them with the linkage to care for drug treatment. What we do know with syringe services program is that for those that use the syringe services program, they're 5 times more likely to seek drug treatment and 3 times more likely to stop using drugs. So this is a tool that we have for this community, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a private entity coming into the community. This ordinance will allow us to begin the dialogue with all of the partners in the parish to see what's the best way to address this. This is one proven tool to fight the opioid epidemic, the hepatitis infection epidemic, and HIV infection. It's here in Livingston Parish, and we have this opportunity to do it. So this is the way to get them through our doors, so we can provide them with the services they need to get off of drugs.
You're saying that we're number 1 in hepatitis, but 64 parishes. Do all 64 parishes report their data?
Yes.
So we have, and is it per capita these numbers, or are these true numbers?
Well, for hepatitis A cases, it's actual numbers.
So
And
there's more people with hepatitis in Livingston Parish than in East Baton Rouge or Orleans?
for cases, yes. Mhm. And when you look at the data for, the demographics of those with for example, with hepatitis A, we know that it's people people who use drugs. And, thereafter, we can see it in the incarcerated group. And there has been an epidemic and outbreak in Livingston Parish. And, that outbreak we had seen in the jail. So this is real, it's here in a community. This syringe services program does not encourage the use of drugs at all. The data does not show that. It can help reduce, needle stick infections or and infections resulting from needle sticks for first responders by 66%. The data also shows that it can help reduce crime. It can show the 11% decrease in burglaries. It allows us to screen for hepatitis infections, STDs, as well as HIV, and then link them to care. So this is a comprehensive program. This is not just a needle exchange. This helps to bring them in through to the door so we can have them get off the drugs.
And I understand, but my concern is though, as well, not as a councilman, as a citizen of Livingston Parish, I fear that it would bring people into the parish that have these addiction problems. Thus bringing element, call it for whatever it is, into the parish that's not, yes, it's here, but you might, and I guess I'm speaking what a lot of people are already thinking. You're gonna bring people into the parish that have an addiction problem. That's something we, as all the councilmen, have to consider, and then, I was just saying, going forward, people, they come, and I'm curious about that. Do you need to exchange a needle? Can you go there and get a fresh needle? Do you have to have one to get one?
That's just one component. They become part of this program.
I understand, but do you have to have one to get one?
Yes.
So how many parishes have already passed this?
Right now, we have a program in Orleans, East Baton Rouge Parish, the Shreveport area, and Rapides just passed theirs a couple.
So you got four of 64 have done it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not interested in being a leader in this.
Oh, yes, for sure. And like I said, I oversee, I'm the medical director for the 5 North Shore parishes. And we've already had our discussions, and we'll be, again, coming back through with our discussions with Washington Parish, St. Tammany Parish, Tangipahoa Parish. Because again, when we look at the lead, who's leading the state, yes, we have a big problem on the North Shore. And the thing is, when you bring this to a community level, we're trying to help those in the community. To think that somebody will come into your community, from another parish just to do the needle exchange, that's really, we know it's already here. We're trying to serve those that are already here. And the data is showing that we have a big problem and it's growing.
So
one of the things we have to look at is, where we're at in Livingston Parish, if we have this program, then we're gonna wind up attracting St. Helena people, Tangipahoa people, Ascension people, because they don't have this program.
Not yet.
So they're gonna come into our parish to exchange a needle,
so-
which the majority of the time, if they're coming to exchange a needle, they
I can't
have
speak to
something
that.
to put in.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
can't speak to that because I don't know that
There-
that is even happening.
So-
But I can only speak to what we know the benefits of this program will be. And that that this is a problem that exists here and in Livingston Parish already. And this is, again, a critical tool that we can provide those citizens who are already addicted.
Well, I guess my question too on this would be, and I'm sorry, Shane.
No, you go, buddy.
If you're active in the program now, if you come in to get a needle, do you have to give your name and address?
That would be ideal, but they may not. Because
So-
they may not have an address to give.
So I guess my question, the reason why I said is because then that data should be available, maybe not here, but in East Baton Rouge. If you come there to get a needle to exchange one, then you have to put your, if you don't have to put your, if you did have to put your address, then there would be some data available. I don't know, I would,
You mean to say whether they're coming from?
I'm ready to make a motion to table
Wait,
it,
there's
but
others
the public hearing's not closed, so.
There's others that wanna say some things.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize.
No. Do we know where this is
so,
Okay.
so let's get somebody to answer that specific question. Is there anybody here that can answer that specific question?
Well, I can tell you about the health unit because I oversee those services.
Right, that's why I'm asking her.
Yes,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
that it will not be a service offered through our, parish health unit.
Okay.
Is it a service that could be, is it a service that could be offered in the Watson area?
In the where?
I mean, I represent a particular area of the parish. Is it possible that the exchange program could be put in my area?
Sure.
Yes.
But again, this is not without involving partnerships and discussion. Just to let you all know, this ordinance that you're passing is not saying that it's a done deal 100%. We're starting tomorrow. This begins the dialogue to see the best way to deliver it, and we have to engage all the partners. This is not a program that we can even provide to the community without the community input in planning, design, and implementation, period. So, and.
Go ahead.
Introduce yourself, I'm sorry.
Don't forget to introduce yourself, state where you're from.
Sure. My name is Richard Kramer. I'm Executive Director of Florida Parish Human Services Authority. So anybody who's not familiar, we're the kind of public service behavioral health organization that covers the 5 Florida parishes. So we've been doing lots of work over the past several years trying to combat the opioid epidemic in Livingston and the other 4 parishes that we serve. Clearly, as the stats have shown from Dr. Lagarde, it's an issue that's affecting here as bad as everywhere else. From the perspective of the kind of a drug treatment organization, I just wanted to come out and say that it's something that we support. The data shows that, first, our job is to try and help get people off of drugs. So obviously we're not advocating for something that's going to facilitate people using more drugs. The data shows that people that come through these programs engage in treatment more often and quit more often than people who aren't. One of the challenges we have as a drug use kind of service provider is engaging people that are using drugs with the services that are available. I mean, they don't just always come walk through our door and say, I need help. They're out there using drugs. We need to get to them and say, this is what's wrong. This is what we can do to help you. A lot of times with substance use, it's not going to happen on the first time. We need to see those people several times before they're ready to engage. Every time they come and exchange a needle, the way these programs are generally set, there's peers and other people there to engage them and say, we saw you last month and we talked about this. You said you were going to think about it. Are you ready now? Are you ready to go into treatment? There are types of medications that we can provide that can help people quit. There's, talk therapy kinds of things that can help people quit. Group therapy, those things. So from a drug treatment perspective, I really think this is something that you should consider approving because the data shows it's not going to make the situation worse. It's going to make it better. And that's not even accounting for all the public health issues with HIV and hepatitis and all the other things that will also be better. That's just speaking on the drug use alone.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have one other question. How long has the program been running in the parish?
Sunday Winder, also with the Office of Public Health. In 2017, the state legalized syringe services programs across the state with local approval. Prior to that, Baton Rouge and New Orleans had services that were run illegally. So they've been around underground, but they became legal by the state of Louisiana in 2017.
So most of the data that we're speaking on is from 2017.
Since 2017.
So when you first went over to the 2017.
Wait, hold on.
So
Okay,
I'm speaking of Louisiana,
Yeah.
2017.
But syringe services data, we have over 30 years worth of data. That's how we know about the effectiveness, proven effectiveness of the program. It's not just based on 2 years worth of data from Louisiana. This is national.
Definitely.
And it is supported by the current president, Trump administration, and his Secretary of Health and Human Services. They promote this as one of the critical tools to combat the opioid epidemic, the hepatitis epidemic, and HIV epidemic.
One more question before you walk away. This may be for the attorney. The state gives us the authority to pass such an ordinance. If we did pass such an ordinance and then later learned that this was not beneficial to the Livingston Parish citizens, we would have the right to revoke such an ordinance. True or false?
I think so, yes.
Me too. All right, there's a gentleman in the back that would like to say something.
I have a question for you.
Don't forget to state your name and address and all that good stuff.
I'm coming in for work, sorry, I'm dressed. But, I'm Gerald, Matt Morris, I'm, Bill Wise, Road 18996. So in 2016, you opened up a, same program in California, correct? So can you tell us, how did you do there? That wasn't you?
No, I'm just agreeing, okay.
So 2016, correct, was your first one to come over?
Well, no, we're
Right.
not federal, we're state, you know.
You're federal or state?
I'm state, we're
Okay, so
state.
the same program opened up in California in 2016. Now, they're shutting it down because of the needles going in, like you was talking about a while ago, in the garbage, on the side of the road, is not getting changed. So, the people need to know, how's it helping California? How's it gonna help our state?
There are numerous states that have done it for many years, including, so New Mexico has over 20 years of experience, and so there are states that have best practices. Some states, they're expanded beyond what we're proposing today, so some of them have, drop boxes within the community. So each Serene Services program is a little different, and so in California, for example, I believe you're speaking to the one that has in the community drop boxes. That's not what we're not proposing drop boxes out in the community.
So what is
And
the
there,
percentage of helping people that's on the how do we know who's getting the help they need, the percentage wise, people getting help?
you mean other than us tracking who's coming into?
Yeah, what's coming in, who,
Right. I mean, that's
How
what
many
we will,
people are you helping on this?
we will have, as a program, we will collect that data. We will have the names, we will be able to
so you
provide that.
you do it for parishes already? Can you give us some data on that?
So the 4 parishes are not, so Dr. Lagarde oversees Region 9 parishes and not the other parishes where they're operated. But that data, we can share that data from the other medical directors. If you want that information from other regions, their populations, that can be shared with you.
So
But right now, the percentage is 0 here.
So if more data needed to be, I guess, reviewed and discussed, it's available? Okay.
At this time, I'd like to make, if, Deidre, I think you and I agree upon this, so at this point.
Do we need to,
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and then back it up with a motion to table this ordinance.
I'll second that.
okay, well, let's, is there any more discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Okay, we'll take one more.
You can't, you got a motion
We got a motion.
in a second.
And a
You gotta
second.
close the public hearing before you
Well,
can do
that's what I
that.
did. I made a motion to close
You
it. We got a
can't make a
second.
motion to close the public hearing. I closed the motion. I closed the public hearing.
I just,
Well, I did have questions for the ladies, but I can just go ahead and state it really quickly. They mentioned that they're not gonna check residency, that was an issue. There was a hesitation on whether or not there was, a requirement for a dirty needle to be exchanged. I'd like to see that in writing. Also, I'd like to see the data they keep referencing. Where's that coming from? We know, and not to be negative or nasty, but there are lies, and statistics. So I'd like to see where these studies are coming from, who did the studies, who's funding the studies, that sort of thing. And then my main issue, I think, at this point is this the only way to contract these diseases? We know it's not. No. So how in the world are they gonna say that this is gonna fix our problem with hepatitis or any other disease in this? Don't open the door, gentlemen. Don't.
Anybody else? All right, I'll now close the public hearing. All right, so we still got a motion?
Motion to table.
Motion to table agenda item number 10 to,
I got one thing I'd like to say.
when do you, okay, when do you?
Table it.
Table it.
It's
Do we
dead.
Need to put it,
Table it.
so table it, and so we don't have a set date to, bring it back up.
With our new council.
Okay.
Got a
We got a
second.
motion on the floor to table this by Gary Talbert, second by Tracy, raised it first.
I don't care.
Oh, Jeff R. seconds the motion.
Yeah, I do wanna add something.
Go ahead, Mr. Jeff.
I've spoken in the past couple of days. I know most people think that me and my brother talk all the time, but we've probably talked more in the past 2 days about this program than we've talked all year. He's called other law enforcement officers across the parish. He's reached out to the ones in these areas. He can't get much data from them, but he is completely against this program. Completely. And after we talked, I think the best thing to do is table it, and we gotta have a lot more information. This is just too quick, too fast, there's not enough data out there for us to make this decision and put it in our backyard.
Gotcha. All right, so there was a motion by Gary Talbert to table it, a second by Tracy, second by Jeff R. Mr. Bubba wanted to make a comment on it before we voted.
Yeah, and I got mixed feelings about this. My main thing is, I'm concerned about our fire departments, our police departments, and anything like that. They have to go out and make a rescue. Somebody that's been using a needle, and they have it in their pocket, and they reach down and pick them up, and they stick theirself. It's a great possibility that they can come down with hepatitis. Yeah, but that's just my concerns.
Yeah, that's everybody's concern. It is, that's valid.
It's a lot to think about.
Yep, it is.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor to table this. I call for the vote.
Without a date.
Huh?
Table it without a date.
Yeah.
Table it without a date.
So that means it'll have to be reintroduced.
Right.
That means it would have to be reintroduced. That's correct.
Mr. Harris,
Yeah.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Lavelle, Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Gurleyhouse.
Yes.
Mr. Art.
Yeah.
Mr. Mack,
Yeah.
Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. Talbert.
Yes.
All right. Agenda item number 11. Yeah, 11. This is also parish president's report, but this is also a public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-38. This is 2019 budget amendments, adopt the 2020 budget. Ms. Jennifer Myers at the podium.
Okay, gentlemen,
Hey, I'm sorry.
sorry.
I screwed this up. It's not your fault. Okay, so we will now open the public hearing. Sandy, would you love to read this ordinance?
Proposed ordinance 19-38, an ordinance amending the 2019 budget and adopting the 2020 budget of the Livingston Parish President Council relative to the general fund, special revenue funds, debt service funds, and capital improvement funds.
All right, Ms. Jennifer, you can go.
Okay, so, when we met last time on the 21st, we introduced the budget that is in front of you with the exception of Mr. Gurlinghouse wanted to add the 62.5 for the update of the master plan and 125,000 for the drainage master plan study. So I have put those changes in here, and the only other change that is in this version is a $300,000 certified check that I went to the bank today and got for, an acquisition of a repetitive flood home through our federal grant. So, they know not to push any more closings through before the end of the year, so that they don't affect the budget they'll be on next year. We don't think any homeowners are gonna be ready before the end of the year anyway, so. 62.5, 125, and 300,000 are the only changes in this copy versus what was presented to you on the first. Do y'all have any questions for me on this budget?
I do, Jennifer.
Okay.
On Fund 135, which is the GOSEP fund, which is Homeland Security, Office of Emergency Preparedness,
Yes, sir?
I notice there is absolutely no money in there for match in 2020 for, the program, the NRCS River Cleanup Program, because you don't have any grant money in there because you don't have any funded projects right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
So my question is, if we don't put any match money in it, then before we can do any work, we've gotta come back and amend the budget and put grant money, put match money in there?
No. So when I come to you, or when Mark comes to you and asks the council to approve a new phase, so that we can get the funds obligated, you know, we have to certify that we have the match, we get the funds obligated, and then the parish president signs the contract. So we take the act of the parish council giving us the go-ahead to apply for the grant, certify that we have the money, allow the parish president to sign the contract, as your word that when I come to you at the end of the year with, these are all the amendments that y'all have agreed to throughout the year, that y'all are gonna pass that amendment to let us move forward on the grant. So, a couple of things. Everything that we have been obligated for and signed commitments for is included in the 2019 number. So that at the end of the fund, when you see the fund balance, that is a true representation of, after all of our commitments, our current obligations are met, this is the money that we have left over. Because I want you to know when you're looking at this fund that this is a true representation of what we can spend in the future. When we get to that next phase 2 of the NRCS or whichever, any grant, and the money has been obligated, which means we are going to get the money as long as we follow the parameters of the grant, then I will put it on that year. But I do not ever want to make a promise that I can't keep. Like, yeah, I know based upon discussions with other people that this $6 million is coming down the pipeline, but it's not been obligated to us, or we've not gotten notice to proceed yet, so I'm not gonna put that in here and then have to take it away should we not get it, or the Fed pulls the
So
money or
basically,
whatnot.
before Mark can commit to the 6 million, he's gotta come to us and ask permission, which will in essence obligate us to the match money that goes with that.
Yes,
So when we go back to the general fund, we go back and look at the general fund and realize that we have a current general fund surplus of 15 million, which is a non-obligated part of the general fund, right?
yes, sir.
Then we know that that money will then start coming from that part of the 15 million.
Yes, unless we can use another grant for a match, which happens, it's rare, but lately we've been getting that to happen. We just got a grant and opened a new project number for match from OCD for some of our federal grants. Just depends on which grant. Some federal grants allow federal match, some do not.
I got you. So basically, that 15 million that we have sitting in unobligated in the general fund could possibly be obligated by our actions during the year with respect to grant approval.
Yes, sir, but please remember, don't think that you truly have $15 million, because please remember that until our jail debt is paid and we can start being in the black on jail operations, we have to net the general fund balance, which is the only unobligated fund balance, on that jail deficit. So net the two, and then you'll see how much truly free unobligated money we have. So we can't operate in a deficit, so we're earmarking our general fund balance on the deficit of the jail. Does that make sense? So until we've worked that deficit down on the jail, which won't stop, we won't stop losing money on the jail until the debt is paid off in 2021. And then we'll start building that back to zero, and then in the positive. So our general fund balance, the reason that big number is sitting there, I know I keep saying like we don't have any money and we have this giant number, but we can't spend up to the amount of the jail deficit of that money.
So the jail deficit right now is sitting at 11 million at year end 2020 is your projection?
Yes,
And that's because we don't have enough beds.
no. If you want my honest opinion, it's because somebody didn't run the numbers right when they built the thing.
Well, I mean, I think the original design was, the original jail was supposed to be much larger, and I'm not gonna talk about what other previous
But I think
councils
you
did,
should
but,
factor in how much it takes to operate it, plus how much it takes to pay the debt.
but
You know,
basically,
we still have that kind of we're not there yet, we're getting
but we've
there.
got about 100, we average about 125 prisoners a day out of Parish, which generates a deficit of about 1.2 million a year. And so, you know, if we had enough beds and we were eliminating that loss on the jail fund, I'm just trying to figure out
That
why.
is not entirely a true statement. If you will look back historically at the numbers, even on the years where we had zero out of Parish housing costs, and I have that historically, we still operated in the deficit. That's the biggest factor, but other factors are how sick the inmates we have incarcerated here locally are, because sometimes our medication costs for one inmate are $15,000 per week on our sicker inmates. So that is a big factor, but it's not the only factor. We have operated at a significant deficit even on years when we've had zero out of parish prisoner housing costs.
Okay, so my question about the unobligated general fund, if this council chose to put money in Fund 145, which is the road fund, in demolition and condemnation, with the anticipation that we get an ordinance that's acceptable to do demolition and condemnation, we could do that. We could move it from the general fund into the road fund to use it for demolition and condemnation.
Absolutely, but you wouldn't have to do that now. You could do that at any point during the year. If you
So
decide,
is
you
it,
decide you want to spend money on anything at any point
so
during
the
the year.
council can amend the budget without you coming to us to
That's
ask
right.
it?
I have to present it to you for a true amendment, but like I said, there are times, we don't amend every council meeting. You know, it's a lot of work to present and adopt an amendment to a budget. We're not gonna do that every month even. I like to do it in April. You know, we get 4 years into the year and we can see how our contracts are falling out, how our revenues are falling out, and reassess at that point. But like I said, the same way with us, when we come to you guys and say, hey, can you approve this? We're taking you at your word that when I put it in this form, you're not gonna be like, oh no, I changed my mind, we're not approving that. You know, same way with y'all. If you say, hey, we wanna spend money on this, I'm gonna put it into the budget.
But if we wanted to put, say, $500,000 into demolition and condemnation now, so that if we got an ordinance that we saw that was workable, it would be in the budget for us to start cleaning up some of these homes that we have that are problems for us. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to move $500,000 into,
Well, can we talk a little bit more before we might have more?
well, I mean, yeah, but we don't have to do one, amendment.
Second his motion.
Well, I know, but I'm just asking here, just,
Well, we can do this one, we can vote on it, if you wanna do something else, we can do it, but let's
well,
let
if you
everything
amend
be
it,
on
though,
its own
are you-
merit.
You're just, this motion is just to amend, it's not to amend and adopt.
No, it's just to amend, it's to
Okay.
just put $500,000 into demolition and condemnation out of the general fund.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we gotta
Is
close.
anybody else here to talk about this particular agenda item? Nope, okay, we now close the public hearing. Okay, so, we have a motion on the floor by Gary Talbert to amend the 2020 budget to move $500,000, can you restate?
From the general fund, transfer from the general fund to the road fund, $500,000, and put it in line item that would would make it obligated to demolition and condemnation, which is GL code 5700.
Can I just make a quick statement?
Sure.
For consideration, you do not have to move that money to DPW, even if you're intending on using DPW labor for,
That,
Those
but there's no
properties.
other line item that we have in the area,
you
there's no.
could create that same account in the general fund. You could just say you want to earmark that money for that purpose, should an ordinance come available.
It might even be better.
Working on the ordinance right now.
Not, I guess, tonight, for, what do you?
Condemnation-
What do you have in mind here?
Well, we have blighted properties throughout the parish that we just let go. And I would like to put money in this column so that if we get an ordinance that's acceptable and we identify it, then the director of DPW can send somebody out to cut the grass, tear it down, do whatever we determine that the ordinance lets, how we address these blighted properties. Because I've got some in my district that we've tried to address and there's no money budgeted to cut the grass. There's no money budgeted to tear the house down, so I'd like to put, I mean, $500,000 sounds like a lot of money, but I don't know how many houses you gonna get toward.
$500,000 is not a lot of money.
I understand, I mean, it's a big money, it's not gonna accomplish a lot, but it gets us started moving in the right direction.
I don't have a problem with, in principle, what you're trying to do, I guess, but I don't wanna go around and start mowing grass, because that's one thing that you will never get ahead of.
Oh, I understand.
And, I mean, so, but, okay.
I'm putting it, I'm putting it in, and then, we don't really have an ordinance now to address it.
Okay.
But we've been working with someone to get that hammered out.
I'm getting it worked.
And we're working with an attorney to hammer that deal out for us.
Okay.
Everything.
And so, if we get that approved, I want money at DPW's availability, that if we get it processed, they can then go execute it, or
Okay.
contract with somebody to get it
I got
done.
a question along the same line. So, I've got somebody working on a process, an ordinance, things like that. How would we pay this company? Would we have to get a contract through Layton to pay the company? Okay, well, I've mentioned it to him, but he's kinda busy, so, you know, we'll work on that in the next few months. It's not something that we're gonna try and start tomorrow, you know?
Okay,
You
so
know?
I'll need some clarification too, Mr. Talbot.
It's, okay, so, let's get back to what we had going on here. So,
I think every council member on this board has got blighted property in their district.
True.
And we all need to get it taken care of. I've been dealing with this for quite a while, and I know y'all have. But there's never been any money or anything to do, you know, to help with it. So, I think this would be great.
Well, like I said, in principle, to start something, if you have a method to what you're doing here, but I'm not about spending any money to go mow grass.
I don't.
Well, and I guess that was, maybe that was a bad example, but I think we all know that there are blighted properties out there that have been abandoned, that are
Yeah.
eyesores in our community that we need to be able to address. Okay.
And I don't think he meant grass. We got some that you can't even see the structures. They're
Yeah.
so bad, trees are this big around, in between other nicely kept properties. That's the things that have to go. We gotta make them, put them back in commerce and let them work.
Since the flood of 2016, we got a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah, and they get more and more.
And the thing is too, I mean.
Okay, so-
It may be a house that needs to be.
It sounds like,
Then you've got to
we
go
wanted to
through
be able to
the legal steps to do that.
But we gonna get the process in place, Bubba, the
Where
ordinance
would
in
that money,
place,
where would that money
and
come
then
from
we'll work
in
and
this
figure out
budget?
how we wanna work through the,
Yeah.
with the parish.
how to
president and
prioritize,
put
what
money within the
specifically
budget,
for it to be
council.
used for and all that kind of
Right,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah, this is just preliminary,
Okay,
way
so-
preliminary.
I still need some clarification on what year you wanna put this into. You just-
2020.
You want it to be a line item expense, or you want to earmark fund balance? Is that
I wanna put a line, I wanna put, like, for example, where you got 2,600,000 salaries and, 200,000 capital outlay, wanna put $500,000 in demolition condemnation.
Okay.
I like it.
And John,
Which,
we're gonna transfer it from the general fund into 145, which is the road fund, which is solely how DPW's operate.
Okay.
So I had another question. The Transportation Act that you project $1 million revenue and $1 million expenditure, where does that revenue come from?
State,
So what do we do with, where's the million spent? Is it spent,
it's usually spent on the overlay program.
so is it transferred into the road program, or we just spend
I
it?
record expenses up to $1 million or whatever expense I have budgeted for that program that year in that fund, and then the rest gets recorded in the.
So you just, that money goes in there from the state, and then you just expense stuff
You're
out?
required to account for it separately because there's a little bit separate rules for the Parish Transportation Act funds. So it stays in its own fund, and I'll just record up to $1 million
But
of
basically our
expenses.
road fund goes toward it, or bridge repair, or whatever, is that how?
Historically, up until today, we've only ever used it to overlay roads.
So what about the years that we don't overlay roads? Do
We
we?
save it.
We save it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and there's no problem with saving that money?
No, sir.
Okay,
As long as you adopt every year that's the reason you have to adopt the rolling road list every year.
so that you
requirement.
satisfy that fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay. John and I were talking about another concern. So in Sam's budget, you go through it, you look at DPW's budget, and you're trying to figure out, we all have problems with drainage in our areas, and sometimes the problem is simply that we have damaged culverts in areas that, the people don't have the means to change the culverts out. or we've had a historical situation where people put too small of culverts in, and we could solve a problem by going out and changing culverts. Is there a line item in the road fund that allows for the parish to purchase culverts for individuals in a given situation?
Now, this brings up an issue that, Mr. Kane, I hope that, I ask that you will please include me in this new ordinance
Oh, yeah, okay.
writing procedure so that we can at least devil's advocate back and forth, because I'm aware of the issues that we have on the accounting side of these things. That's another thing that, when you're using public funds to provide something on a private property or to a private citizen, you run into a risk of violating the, state constitution.
But just, well,
that says we
if
can't
it's
pledge
on a,
donate
if
public
it's on a
funds.
parish highway, a parish street, and it's draining, the ditch is parish property.
In our service.
I mean, what?
We have access to the servitude, but legally we don't own that property. So I don't know the answer to that, but I'm just saying that you're getting into, when you are providing something,
Would it be possible, but let's just say it is legal. Let's just say it is legal.
it could be.
Okay, and we'll cross that bridge in a minute. But we've got to change out some culverts. Where would you pull that, where would you pull $100,000 to put in strictly for the purchase of culvert, at $10,000 in each district?
It would come out of the road fund, Fund 145. But if you, before you
You
decide to
couldn't
do
take that out of the general fund?
No, sir. Why would you take that out of the general fund?
Well, I mean,
No, I want you, is
why
do you
wouldn't
wanna
you take it out of the general fund?
Because we have a dedicated revenue source for streets, ditches, bridges.
Well, just make a separate line item as culvert purchases.
We have a culvert purchase line item.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that in here.
Yes, sir.
What number where?
There's a maintenance of ditches.
I see
That's where
maintenance of ditches, that's not,
All of our culverts purchases.
okay,
are
that's
recorded.
maintenance.
Well, yeah,
Means- That doesn't pay for a culvert though, does it?
Yes, sir.
That's where I thought, that's where I thought that went from.
I mean, I
Because
saw
that-
the maintenance of ditches, but that doesn't,
That's culvert purchases,
so that's about 116,000, well,
that's culverts, bands,
She got half a million projected in 2020 in that line item.
They've done that type of thing whenever they do the overlay of roads, you know, they replace
Is that, the
culverts.
cross culverts and things are included in that, Mr. Sam? Okay. 'Cause they've been replacing all the cross culverts. Makes sense. Putting a new road down, you don't want culverts to collapse.
so that is $500,000.
Not a driveway.
Yeah, and if you look at.
I'm not looking at the page.
Look on,
That should be your culverts though, under the bridge.
yeah, not next to the road.
Yeah, I guess that still's not gonna fix the problem of just,
But that's,
of local, in everybody's district, we have culverts that need to be changed. I'd just like to see us
And Mr. Marshall,
earmark.
that would be as simple as, having Mr. Moody get on the phone with the legislative auditor's attorney and saying, hey, is this a violation of 714 or no? And then we draw up something that a CEA with the private property owner, or hold harmless, and you know what I'm saying? That is much easier to
Okay,
get through.
and I
than
could get him to
something like
say, no,
tearing down property or cutting grass.
I could get him to, it seems like it'd be easy to get him to find out whether it's legal or not. The hard part is getting the money, and getting it appropriated to that.
Well, the money's in the line item.
it's already there. They wouldn't have, they'd have to spend it on that and then instead of some other culvert.
Well, we could,
We can
The only
spend
thing I'd
sales
like to
tax
say-
and ad valorem from the road fund on ditches.
And
We
that's
just can't
in-
do it on
and that's
private
in the
property
ditch.
without getting permission from the
Well,
legislative
so
auditor.
I'm not asking to go on private property. I mean,
Well, you, no, that's the problem. It's a
well,
ditch.
so you think
but
a
it's
ditch on
a,
the state-
but
on
we
a
got
parish
we
road
got a
with a private
servitude.
driveway,
We have a
We don't own the
servitude.
culvert.
And you don't own the driveway.
but it's not, we clean the ditches.
I know.
We clean the
Wait,
ditches
y'all-
on the
y'all-
roadway,
I'm
and you
not
tell me
arguing
that's
one way or
legal,
another.
but yet we can't put a culvert in.
I just know that
We're gonna have to.
that's the biggest risk
We're gonna have to
government
calm
makes.
down here a little bit,
We're gonna
gentlemen.
have to check.
But we can clean the
We're gonna
ditch
check.
though, right?
Right.
John, if we
It's
go
crazy.
and start changing out driveway covers,
What's that?
when we start changing out driveway covers, we don't have enough money in any budget to go throughout Livingston Parish.
Mr. Bubba, pick the worst one and you get $10,000 to fix
Everybody's
that.
got the worst covers, you know that.
Well, you get $10,000 to do it.
Not me.
I mean, you ain't gonna get
Okay,
none
so
of it done
let's-
if you don't budget the
let's-
money.
Let's do a little revamp here real quick. So basically what I've heard here is there's already money budgeted and set aside
For culvert.
for culverts. So we don't really need to move money there.
We just need
That's
to.
a matter of
Every time I've asked, we don't have the money.
execution.
That's
So-
every time I've asked,
Okay,
oh, we
so-
can't do that, we don't have the money.
So maybe we need to do is ask Chris to give us an opinion and then figure out
Once we
when
get
she
that
comes back in
amendment.
April,
Yeah.
which we talked about after the 2019 road fund is done, about how we're gonna address the 2020 road fund. Maybe we can talk about culverts. Chris, we were having a discussion about, we were having a discussion about driveway culverts. What's your feeling on if we have a damaged culvert, that we can show benefit?
Determine that it's causing a drainage issue for others. That's how
Then
we
can
fix
the,
it.
can the parish go in and change someone's culvert and buy the culverts themselves?
I'd say that you're opening up a can of worms there. You'd have to really be able to demonstrate that there's a benefit to the parish, otherwise you can start giving out free culverts.
They undermine our roads and the water stays up on them. That's the benefit.
Again, I mean, I don't wanna beat a dead horse and I'll shut up, but it's, you saying I'm gonna summarize what you said. It would be illegal to change the culvert, but yet it's not illegal to clean the ditch.
Right.
Well, he didn't really say it was illegal. I think what he
Okay.
said is we were opening a can of worms.
Okay, so you're opening a can of worms to change the culvert, but you're not opening a can of worms to clean the ditch that feeds into it.
I mean, for instance, if there's
Again, that's my
abandoned
point.
property owner that had a, collapsed culvert and it's blocking everybody else's drainage, I think that you could remove that.
That would be legal.
Well,
That's what I'm talking
I
about.
think we can tear that out.
If it's abandoned, you
Put
just
the
take
new
the culvert out.
You just don't put a new one, you just put, yeah.
Well, you don't wanna take somebody's culvert out or access their property and then not put something back.
No, what y'all saying, I'm actually in agreement on this one. I mean, if you have a nice flowing waterway and you clean the ditch and you got one culvert at the end and these people just can't afford it to
You're
put
blocking
a
it.
new one, and there should be an avenue to where we can
I was trying to
come in
think.
and
Well, let's work on it, and figure out
Okay,
that
so-
avenue,
Guys,
and then we'll
but
know what
if
to
you're
do.
gonna consider this, also consider that if we start giving away free culverts, nobody's gonna be able to afford a culvert.
I get it,
Get it?
I won't want
And
it.
also, you need to budget into your $10,000 each, the cost of, I'm assuming, the engineering firm that's gonna have to decide who gets.
But no, we already
How bad-
install
how bad
culverts
are
if
they on who
customers
gets the
buy them.
culverts first?
We already, let me say that again, we already install culverts that the customer purchase, that the residents purchase. So who's doing that engineering and who's doing that labor to install?
No, I mean the engineering to decide who's
Who's
bad enough to
bad
get a
enough.
culvert to,
Well, you're
only getting 10,000.
Well, we do that now anyway.
Are you gonna decide who gets the culvert, or are we?
I'll
gonna-
work with the engineer to
party.
check out which one's causing the problem. I mean, we've already done that.
We know where.
John, I'm gonna go back to my old man stuff.
I'll be quiet after this, that's it.
And because
I think you see what I'm talking
When I was
about.
on police jury, they used to do that. They gave culverts away.
Mr. Bubba, I'm not
Until-
trying to give culverts, I'm
Until
trying to
the
fix.
state stepped in there and said, if y'all give one more culvert away, we're taking all y'all's funds away from you. And that stopped it back then.
That's why we gotta check legally, figure out if we can prove
Yeah.
that it's undermining the road.
In writing from the
Something.
LLA, and then please have a very tight ordinance that details exactly how the process is going to go.
Process.
Chris, we need that.
Hey, so let's wrap this up real quick,
Yeah.
okay?
End of year, they can work it.
We're talking about budgeting the money for it.
It's already there.
The
It's
money's in
already
the
there.
budget.
It's already there. We just gotta figure out how to do it.
Well, if we
It's the
earmarked
work
it for that.
process.
We gotta come up with the right verbiage.
Right.
It's earmarked for that.
Money's there.
It's for culvert replacement.
Okay, so,
I think you're right. Gotta figure it out. All right, you come back.
does anybody else have anything to say about this particular agenda item from the audience? Okay, we have, we haven't closed the public hearing yet.
Yeah, we're
So
gonna
let's-
stop.
Let's get this,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
closed the public hearing?
Do we
You
work-
did, you did.
do we work
Oh,
on-
my bad, we already closed the public hearing, I apologize. So we've had some councilman comments, and we've got a motion on the floor. We got two amendments. I wanted to say just a few more things and see if we could agree to amend
Some more?
the road fund budget. or maybe talk about whether or not now's the right time to do that.
I think Jennifer would, why don't you address if y'all will look at maintenance of roads and streets, you'll see that we budgeted, originally $7,650,000. We spent $4.5 million. We've got estimated remainder of 8.8 million for a total adopted of 13.36. That is what's left of the 19 road fund, but it's not, you and I talked, you want to explain how it's not gonna be spent this year?
Yes.
But it's okay,
Where's it
we'll,
at?
okay, you go right here. This is what we originally budgeted in 19.
Yeah.
This is what we spent, this is what we project left to spend, so this is what we project for the whole year. Now, we're not gonna, tell them why we're not gonna spend it in 19, but how it's gonna work.
Can you clarify that real quick for me too?
Yes, sir. So
So
like
we-
I said previously,
We budgeted for $7,650,000. We spent $4,500,000, and we got $8,800,000 left to spend on the 2019 road fund program?
Right,
Is that what
because
you're saying?
if you remember when.
so what happens is, remember in 18, we were going to spend $8 million, and in 19, we were going to spend $8 million.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is, for whatever reason, I cannot remember that far back because my brain's old, we didn't spend our $8 million in 18. It rolled over into a new year, which is terrible for accounting, for budgets, but it happens. You're not ever gonna say, hey, we can spend $1 million, or we're gonna spend it all in that one year. So we have a contract with RJ Daigle and the engineers, to spend this $8 million. Well, that crossed from 18 to 19. So that's why your budget numbers change. Now, yes, I had originally budgeted in 18, the $8 million, we only spent 2.4 million of that. So then our number for 19 is 7.6, we only spent 4.5. So we just finished spending the $8 million from 18's allotment. So we allotted $8 million for 19, and I think I've only paid 2 or 3 invoices so far on that $8 million contract. So, because I like to list all of our obligations so that you know the money that's left in that fund balance is true spendable money.
That's sort of what I wanted to talk about. I would like to make excuse me,
Go ahead.
while we're here though, I mean, I'll lose my thought process
Okay.
if we just keep rambling on. Okay, so, to me, this is confusing. What I would like to see is a movement for us to have a 2019 overlay program, or list of roads that we plan to overlay, a budget, okay? And then let's plan the work and begin the work, complete the work, and pay the invoices all in the same year. I would like to see that. I think that that is possible. I think that in 2016, correct me if I'm wrong, the previous council approved the 2016 budget. They had a road list. Those roads were overlaid in 2016. And it came out of the 2016 budget. Now, I know the flood happened and a lot of things, got moved around and everybody did the best they could, not knowing what the future held. But to me, what I would like to see is exactly what we talked about is, before we approve a 2020 budget, I would like to know about how much money we're gonna spend on overlaying roads in 2020, and then approve that budget, and then meet those budget targets. And I do think that it's possible for us to do that type of thing.
Okay.
If we plan our work accordingly, we begin the work when it should begin, and lay it all out. So,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I would love that
Yeah.
as an OCD accountant.
Uh-huh.
Keep it immediate, keep it clean. Absolutely. The problem that you have is economies of scale. You are not gonna get very much road work done if you only spend 1 year's worth of money each year. So if you'll look back historically, we've had to save for 2 or 3 years to get a chunk of money to do a chunk of work because mobilization eats up 17 or 18% of your budget. You don't want to start and stop. You just wanna give them a big chunk of money and keep on moving. Am I right? So,
I disagree with that.
Well, so Jennifer, let me ask you a question.
I'm gonna disagree with that.
I
I'm
remember,
gonna say that you can have your budgeted money, okay, and that you plan your work, and that you can mobilize accordingly, you know, hold a contractor to the contract, and get the work done that's planned to be done within that year, so that it is easy for the people of Livingston Parish and for the council to know, you know, where their tax money's going. You know, to me, it's all boogered up so much, it's kinda hard for me to understand about how much money we planning on spending on overlaying roads. And I think it's very important to the people of Livingston Parish, because there's some out there that don't think that we are spending enough money overlaying roads. And I think it would be easier to show, improve,
but I
that we're
could
doing the
much
best we can.
cleaner show you by pulling contracts and road lists that were done in those years with that money. You know, if that's something that you wanted to see, I could absolutely provide that for you without the parish, without it costing the parish more money of having very small chunks of.
Here's what I don't
overlay
want to happen in
done.
the next 4 years, and this may seem kind of rude, but it's not meant that way, okay? In 2016, the district that I represent had 0 roads overlaid, 0.
I'm
In
in that.
let me finish. In 2017, the district that I represent had 0 roads overlaid, okay? The flood came, right? In 2016, it messed things up, okay? We came out with a road program, okay? And my district that I represent, okay, had a substantial amount of money dedicated to overlaying roads in that district. And I was excited, okay, that in 2019, we were gonna get some roads overlaid, okay, in my area, okay? My people were told that that was gonna happen, okay? In 2019, the money that was budgeted to overlay the roads in my district did not get overlaid, okay? So in 2016, 2017, and 2018, no roads were overlaid in District 9 in Livingston Parish. Now, let me say this, and I know that y'all have some comments, and we're gonna talk about things. In 2020, District 9 had some roads overlaid. No, 2019, okay? 2019. 2016, 2017, 2018, none. 2019, we had some 2019 we had some roads overlaid, okay? Roads that should have been overlaid and were budgeted for, okay, and planned on the books to be overlaid in 2019, did not get overlaid in 2019. The 2018 road program, roads that was on the 2018 list was overlaid, okay? So, my point is it seems to me that in 3 years, roads were only overlaid in my area one time.
Okay, so you have a problem with the priority road list. You don't have a problem with the budget.
I don't have a problem with the priority road list.
Yes, sir, because you control the priority
No,
road list.
the priority
So if
road list
your
was,
roads are not getting overlaid, it's because y'all
the
are
priority
changing
road
the
list
priority
was,
road list.
the priority road list was fair.
Wait a second. In 2016, we overlaid roads straight down the priority road list. We started at 1, and it was gonna consume the whole budget, so we went to
Wait,
2.
say that again, Gary? Repeat
In
that.
2016, the
Right.
priority road list was funded straight down the list.
Correct.
And Tab got all the work. No, but 2017, wait a second, 2017, after the flood, we funded no roads.
Nobody got roads.
Okay, and then the first part of 2018, we didn't fund roads because we weren't sure about match money on cleanup. So the 2018 road program didn't start till the 3rd quarter. Am I correct, Billy? The 3rd quarter of 2018 is when it started, which is why it ran into 2019. The reason the 2019 road program is started in the 4th quarter, right? It started at the end of the 3rd, was because we thought we were gonna do a change order on the 2018 budget and include the additional 8 million. And we were told the change order was too big and it had to be rebid, which delayed the start of the 2019 road program. Am I correct, Billy? Okay, so on the 2020 is not gonna start till 2019 is over. Unless, what is the percentage of money that we can do a change order on and not have to rebid?
I do not know the answer to that. I wanna say, Mr. Moody, we had that discussion multiple times, and I'm not sure if, I don't even know that it says a percentage. I think it says you cannot change the scope of the project, correct?
We've looked at that before, I'll have to look that up. I don't know if it's a certain percentage.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, we could in theory put money for 2020, and if we didn't have to rebid it, we could do it as a change order along the priority road fund, then we could move right on through. But if we've got to end 19 before we can bid 20, then we're gonna continue to overlap the year process. I mean, you follow what I'm talking about?
Unless you got two
Billy.
contractors running at once.
You did add some roads.
Two contractors.
Yeah.
Because recalling the 18 doesn't, because when you added roads, you could have called it 18 and 19, because
Yeah.
you added road, which is.
So I guess my question is, Billy, based on your projections now of the 2019 road program, when do you expect it possibly be finished in 2020?
I think, I have the dates, I think it's probably supposed to be by June.
So how long,
We've already added a couple roads, if nothing else gets added.
well, I mean, I know we've already added a couple roads to it now, so we're talking about June to end it. If we would have money to do it as a change order, then we could continue to move forward and possibly get the 2020 road program finished in the calendar year. But if we've got to rebid it, then how long is that process gonna take to get the engineering done and the rebid?
It's a 90 to 120 day process, depending, but you can start that at any point in time, but
That's
I
what I'm
think
saying,
we're
can we bid it
for
now?
a year, what we're calling the
Yes.
project is
Yes.
continue to add money and continue to grow the program,
You only have 45
not just call it
days
the 18
to
or 19
award.
program.
You couldn't bid it out and then say you win, but we're not letting
We
you
can't,
work
we
it.
can't run two contractors at one time, doing two separate road programs?
Well, and think about this, just for consideration, Mr. Mack. If you make me nail down at September 30, the money that is in the budget for spending for road overlay for the next entire fiscal year, you potentially limit me from being able to tell Chad, I can certify that match on a potential federal project that opens up. And I know you don't wanna hear that, cause it's citizens in your district that are wanting their roads overlaid.
I'm not
but we
saying
have
that.
some
I'm saying that,
opportunities
I'm saying that
sometimes.
you have a projected budget for 2020, okay? And that there's no reasonable reason why you can't have a projected amount of money for 2020 roads, and that you can't let a contract out for 2020 and get those roads that are on that list overlaid in 2020. I would like to see us get called up.
What she's saying, it may be only like $1.5 million, and if we save it up and
If
do
you're like-
5 or 6, you get more bang for your buck.
Because if you look at, what do you have surplus at the end of the year in 2020? Less than 6 million?
Less than 6.
It's 5.2,
Yeah.
5,292,000.
Chad, what roads potentially could be funded in the legislative session that would need match after in next fiscal year for the state?
That are not already on the list that you gave me of current obligations.
Yeah, not the
Some
roads,
that
not the
haven't
roads on
obligated.
that list with all the pretty colors on them.
You got that list?
There's a continuous pot of money that kind of comes from that, so we would just keep feeding ones that qualify for that program. As long as it's funded, you know, I mean, they have a certain pot from the CRPC that allows the projects to happen, as long as they meet that criteria.
Okay, so like that list that you sent Jennifer, is every project on there funded completely right now?
No, sir.
So there are projects,
I'm not exactly sure about the list that you have, but I don't think, I'm
The list that you sent me of our obligations
Oh,
for
okay,
grant
yeah.
and construction,
Those do have.
those are all obligated.
Yeah, those are obligated.
so what potentially is, like, so I know, we're talking about like MPO stuff, is that what we're talking about? Okay, so like Sims is on the MPO, what else is on the MPO right now that we've got out there?
I mean, the one, we got Buddy Ellis, Forest, the Lats, Sims, Amy Church Road, yeah, we got some, yeah, I think, yeah, Dunn Road's one.
So what's the potential funding, you don't, what would be next if the legislature gave us money in for fiscal
What was
twenty.
the next, road project? We're working on that right now.
So we're spending max money to get the engineering ready already?
No, we haven't gotten that far with it. We haven't gotten that far with it.
So we just have roads on the list right now.
That's correct. There are some roads, Rob, and I don't have them in my head right now, but there are some roads that are qualified, we just haven't programmed them with the money to the program.
So you don't know how much match we need to reserve to make that work?
That's correct.
And that's what
Can,
that's
can,
what the
can we
funds
get a
are.
list of those roads?
They're easy to get. Ain't none in your district, but, you know,
No.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, I know you wanna hear that it's as easy as put it in the budget and spend it, but on some things, it's just not, it's a fine juggling act until you know.
Just happen to not agree with that.
And that's okay, it's okay to disagree, I mean, from an accountant to somebody who has, you know,
Yeah.
So
wants to
Chad,
figure out
what's
saying,
the,
I need this, I need this, I need this, I
the
get it.
NC versus the C? C is complete, NC is not complete, or what is that?
No, that's capital and non-capital.
Oh, capital and non-capital? And then state and fed depends on where the money's coming
Yes, sir.
from? Now, this thing's got a 2021 column. Is that stuff that's projected for 2021, or is that just a?
Yeah,
So we need, but there's, so we need so right now you're saying we need 3.1 for parish match in 2020 and 1.5 for parish match in 2021. Now, the 3.1 is already in the budget.
so is the 1.5.
Oh, so the 1.
I put our entire obligation in the budget, because I don't ever
So
wanna.
basic,
that
so
funding-
then you tell,
That you do not
So
have.
that
So-
funding's in the budget?
so you're
Yes.
telling me the
In the
5.8,
2020 year.
so the 5.8 million surplus that we're showing at the end of 2020, you've already accounted for the match on everything on this list.
Everything that we have obligations for. So if the grant has been obligated and we have started forward on that grant, yes, sir, I'm gonna put our obligations on here. It's an accounting rule. When you know, put it in.
So I would like to amend the budget if we could, agree to put, 4 million out of that 5.2 million into the actual overlay program that's listed out for the priority list.
The 2 million, the 2 million, the two and a
Those matches are already funded out of the current budget.
the 2.5 that you currently have in the road fund for road maintenance and repair, what is that for now?
I'm sorry, ask me that again. Let me look at the page.
If you go to 145, you've got isn't it 2.5 that you've already got? 2.65 that you've got in maintenance of roads and streets.
Yes, sir.
Which is where you end up putting road fund money, which is where you put the overlay project normally, in
Yes.
that same line item.
Yes.
Is that just for basic pothole fixing and,
No, there's something else there. What do we have coming? What do we have coming? We're putting 2 million in there?
well, wait, I'm looking, hold on, let's see. Let me look,
I can't, just because you asked me.
well,
I
I'm
cannot
pulling
remember.
up your sheet.
Yeah, it's probably typed to the side of that.
I'm
line
gonna
item.
look on your sheet. Normal maintenance, 650,000 includes litter, 6.625 overlay project, 900,000 LEDC, 250K FEMA,
That's all prior year stuff. I don't think that's been updated.
and then 7 million overlay. That's what the notes are on the
Yeah,
side.
that's prior year notes. That's not current year notes.
So you don't know what the
I cannot
2.65
remember.
is in there for?
I have handwritten notes on my desk.
Okay. So Shane, if,
Get some buy-in.
so here's my question. If Jennifer, she's already said she's coming back in April. Is April enough time if we put money in the 2020 road program to continue on with the list, if we're able to add roads to it? And you understand what I'm saying? I
And
mean,
get work done in 2020.
in 2020.
Yeah, add it to the current contract? Yes.
Chris, is that, if she comes back in April, after we have a better understanding of where we're sitting with what we've spent in 2019, could we then add money at that point in time and use the continued contract if we pick up additional roads on the current list that we have?
Have we exceeded the amount of the current contract?
No.
And I wanna say the rule is that as long as it doesn't change the scope.
We're not changing the scope, we're just gonna add roads off the same list that we've already approved that was.
Probably okay, I'll
Let's-
check that, but I think you can do that, as long as it doesn't exceed the original
that's how
cost
it's
of the
gonna
contract.
And explain to me one more time, why it wouldn't be a good idea to go ahead and make the move now?
Because if we commit the money now and the state comes in and says, we're gonna fund AB Church Road and you need 80-20 and you need $2 million, then we've already obligated it to something. So let's get a better picture in April of where we're sitting, and then if we wanna, yes ma'am.
And so just like you said to me, this is not personal, not meant to be ugly, but
Don't say it then.
please do not ever decide for yourself how much money you're gonna allocate
That
in
is
the budget.
definitely not what I'm doing here.
Well,
What
I
I
heard you say
see-
$4 million and I about fell out. Please,
Yeah. No,
let
it would
me
be for
tell
the priority
you what's
road list,
available.
it would be
Please
the
don't
roads
ever
that
just
was on.
decide
It would
you're
be,
gonna take $4
it
million.
would be dedicated for the roads that's already prioritized on the actual road list that currently exist.
But what Jennifer's saying is.
And to me, if we went ahead and dedicated the money, then you could go ahead and start the process to hire another contractor to get these roads
But-
overlaid. And-
I know, but all you
And
see
you
is
could
the
put that
bottom
money to
line.
that instead of matching grants, you know?
But wait a
Because you
second,
already
if
have-
RJ Daigle's already, let's say for example, RJ Daigle's on the job, it'll be cheaper to amend the contract and let RJ Daigle continue to work than it would be to rebid and have a new contractor mobilize.
And can
So-
you guarantee that without actual bids and contracts?
Yeah, you guarantee
We
that.
just saw it when we rebid, yes, sir, I can, we just saw that when we
Every job
rebid
is
this
bid, and that
18 and
will be
19.
an
Between the person's taking bid with substantial savings, in this particular case, you've gotta get back to your budget. Well, you said 17%?
So I mean, so
I'm
Bill,
not saying
so-
that we don't need to match these grants and receive
no, we
this grant
understand.
money, but what I am saying is the more we add in grants, we're taking away from the current roads that are currently almost unbearable to drive on. I mean, we're not taking care of what we already have. You see what I'm saying? It's just,
but these aren't new
Except
roads.
that the grants are 75%
I know, but we
free
could do
money.
those further on in the future and go ahead and try to take care of some of the problems that currently exist
Yeah,
today.
but those roads that we're currently fixing are problems, I mean, Dunn Road's a
Oh, mine is
problem.
horrible. Look, you
There- I
said-
mean,
Well, I mean,
Duff,
there's a reason why the Fed and the state are passing this money down for these projects, it's not because they're great roads, it's because
They're
there's,
bad.
they've done the same
And
thing
they
at
have
the
to be
state level that
connector
we do at
roads,
parish
too. They
level,
can't
they've
just be-
assessed and decided that these are our priorities.
Yeah, lots of them.
so, I mean.
All right, so we can amend this in April, we can talk more about it later, I don't wanna make this meeting last all night.
Too late.
But I can tell you that I am in the opinion that some things need to change for the better.
Well, Shannon, look, we all agree, these roads are, you know, I didn't give a one low road in my district.
Okay,
It
so I
ran
need
from one
a
end. So,
motion to.
Okay, so let's repeat your motions that you had earlier.
Sandy, read the two amendments we have. We're gonna, you, wait,
was $300 acquisition of the federal grant, that was the amendment that.
Yeah, I added the 300,000 different from what I presented to
that's why
you
there
on
was
the
three.
21st. You have to
Yeah,
state
okay.
it out loud in the meeting so that the public knows what you're
so the 300,000 and then the two things, the other two.
62.5 and 125,000.
Okay, so that's a,
That was
That was done in the
introduced.
introduction.
Yeah, so that's
That's
all.
okay, that was in the, so the 300,000 is amendment one. Amendment two is to move 500,000 from the general fund into the demolition condemnation line item of the road fund for use if we get the ordinance straight. And then it'll be
We're gonna
within
get the
Sam's
ordinance
budget.
straight.
Okay, so let me see if I can get this straight, and correct me if I'm wrong about this. Okay, so, there's a motion on the floor by Gary Talbert to amend the is it the 19 for the 300,000?
It's the 2020.
It's the 2020 budget.
With the 2019 amendments, which is where the 300,000 came.
Okay, with the 2019 amendments, you know, the 300,000 that with the acquisition that they talked about and discussed and referenced, and then $500,000 to be taken from the general fund, put into the road fund for demolition of blighted property.
Are we creating a line item
No, it's already in there.
There's an existing line item
There's a zero
for,
fund there.
I believe there were 2 or 3 properties that ran through the court system a couple of years ago, and they put $100,000 in that.
So we're moving $500,000 from the general fund to the road fund demolition line fund?
Yeah,
Line
it's in
item.
there.
Line
Yeah.
item.
Line item, yep.
It's 570, it's general ledger, it's 5700000.
Got it.
You have a motion?
So we're
Yeah, there's a motion
amending
here.
first.
She's getting it.
Amending first.
Then we're gonna amend it first.
Need a second. So do we have a second to amend the 2020 budget?
I'll second it.
Got a second by Scooter King?
Oh, don't get it. Okay.
Tracy made a motion?
No, Gary did.
Gary.
Okay, and this is to amend the 2020 budget.
Do we have to roll call, or we can answer any objection?
Maybe a roll call.
I call for the vote.
Mr.
mean-
Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Averett,
Yes.
Mr. Livell,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Greenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Ard,
Yes.
Mr. Mack,
Yes.
Mr. Weisman,
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
To adopt as amended.
Okay, so now we need a motion on the floor to adopt the 2020 budget as amended.
Motion.
Motion by Tracy Burlinghouse, second by Jeff Avery. We're gonna call for the vote on this too.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Averett,
Yes.
Mr. Livell,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Greenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Ard,
Yes.
Mr. Mack,
Yes.
Mr. Weisman,
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
Okay,
That was
now for
easy.
the hard part. So we've, put out a bunch of things for bid, item 11B. I would like to suggest that I read through these really fast and you can vote to accept them all. I don't think any of them are going to be an issue. Okay, so we, are asking that you accept and award the bids for bridge material and round timber piles to MCM Lumber, low bidder. I believe you've all gotten all of this and looked, seen it.
Yeah, we got it.
Emergency response sand to Trucking Innovation, natural sand, regular purchase to Mears Sand and Gravel, washed concrete gravel to Southern Aggregates, grade 8 limestone to Bear Industries, and grade 610 limestone to Bear Industries.
Jennifer, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
On the emergency sand, can we accept all 4 bids?
I don't understand the question.
Well, I mean, Trucking Innovation is low. Can we accept all 4 so that if we have an emergency and Trucking Innovation can't keep up, then Bear's got a price fixed for us, Mears has a price fixed, and Southern Aggregates has a price fixed?
I don't know the answer to that, and Mr. Moody may be a better, I would think that would sort of defeat the purpose of bidding it out for low bid. You could choose an alternate, or, write into, a part of our bid pack should have been that they have to be able to supply us with so much in a certain amount of time. You know, so,
I think their bid will change, because they're not supplying as much.
yeah.
Well, but my question is, if they can't supply, what do we do?
Then it's an emergency and they can go, they can.
Well, I mean, I understand, but, okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm just wondering if we could lock all 4 of them in at that price
I
if
think
we
that's the
accept
reason
them.
we separated out too from regular year purchasing and emergency, is that these people are equipped and can provide and, you know.
Okay, I'm good.
I understand what Mr. Talbert's saying, because if, some reason the low bid can't supply it, and the others go up on their prices, there's nothing we can do about that either.
Well, the low bid has they have to honor the bid that they
Yeah, the low
proposed.
bid.
They have to be able to provide so much at a certain time for a certain price. I mean, that's the whole point of bidding out this.
Exactly.
I think he means
For
during
you.
an emergency, they can go, no, we want $37 a yard or whatever.
They don't have to.
You know,
agree.
not the people we accepted from, but
Right.
anybody else we would have to use.
Uh.
And if we locked it in at 1980, whether we used it or not,
It's gonna depend on what's in the bid proposal.
It's only
Yeah,
right to
I
the,
don't think they would abide to that, if they're not getting the whole contract.
Right.
Because,
No.
yeah.
That's fine. I mean, I just
just had a question.
I just know,
it's only fair to the one that at least have a bid.
Okay, so, do we have a motion on the floor to accept,
We did not finish.
We didn't finish
we
the
didn't
list.
finish?
I have 2 more, sorry.
Okay,
Bulk fuel,
That's right.
delivery, lard oil, I believe was the only bidder. And, Prisoner supplies is awarded per category, and y'all got that big old spreadsheet in there. So Bob Barker, Charmtex, and Economical were the three that got all the categories split up amongst them.
Price was right.
And Bob Barker was low on all of them?
No, sir, only on some categories. There's a giant spreadsheet that looks like
Oh,
this.
so we're gonna accept based on the color coding?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You want me to read them one time?
We try to save as much money as possible, so we divided it into categories and awarded the low bidder per category. You know, 'cause some, I'm sorry, Miss Sandy,
You want?
I do not have that, but if y'all are interested, Bob Barker got, admission, which I think are the bags, canvas shoes, black and white scrub shirts, orange jumpsuits, black and white jumpsuits. Charmtex basically got all of the personal, towels, bedding, hygiene products, hair care. And then another one got, coats and jeans and shower shoes. So, I mean, we tried to group it to where we were getting the lowest prices in each category.
I make a motion to accept the recommendations of the purchasing department. Accept the.
Got a motion on the floor to accept the recommendations of the purchasing department, and accept the bids that was detailed by Finance Director Jennifer Myers. Second by Jeff Ard. Anybody from the audience like to comment on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good on you.
I'll be bringing it, next meeting, or maybe, I'm not sure, we have, audit just came in, pharmacy meds for the jail just came in, and, physical agent just came in. That'll be the next round.
Did we?
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 12. This is a public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-37. New language for the disclosure and notification of pump grinder sewage installation. I will now open the public hearing. Sandy, can you read the ordinance? You got it memorized?
Proposed 19-37, it's an ordinance to add section 70-2 through 5,
We'll make a
notification
comment in a
and
second.
disclosure of pump/grinder sewerage installation code ordinances of Livingston County by mandating to any prospective purchaser of property the disclosure of pump grinder sewerage installation and the requirements thereof.
Okay, so before we have the public, I mean, I know we're supposed to have the public hearing. The ordinance committee met earlier tonight, and the recommendation of the ordinance committee was to table this ordinance as it's written without a date. And we were gonna revisit the grinders in a different method. So, I know there are a lot of people here that are here because of it. We'll make that comment, so maybe we can close the public hearing, make the motion, and move through this item without dragging it out further.
Appreciate that comment, and all is welcome to come to the ordinance meeting, so that whenever we do hash this out, that we can, you know, y'all can help us get it right. So, is that, all that being said, is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? All right, we will now close the public hearing. Do we have to have a motion to table this? Okay, so is there a motion on the floor to table? Motion on the floor to table by Jeff Ard, second by Mr. Bubba Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Does anybody want to recess, or we just want to keep going?
Let's roll.
All right, agenda item number 13, this is planning commission recommendations. We've got, the infamous Mr. Sam DiGeronimo in the house to review this tonight.
Man, what are you doing here this late?
Y'all get coffee.
Need some coffee?
Okay, guys, first on the agenda is commercial development. This is, in Mr. Jeff Ard's district. This is guerrilla warfare paintball, final site plan. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the final site plan for the guerrilla warfare paintball project.
And I'm good with this. Our only concern was fencing to contain the paintballs from going into other people's
Evacuation out is in favor of this.
Jeff, doesn't that run into a power line?
No, that's over by my, that was a different one.
That's all
Okay,
together.
all right.
Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Oh, there is. Come on up.
Justin King, the owner of Guerrilla Warfare. We do have 20-foot netting going around the perimeters of the fields to prevent any paintballs from going. So, appreciate that.
Excellent.
My whole concern is
All right.
I'll make a
Motion on the floor by Jeff Ard, second by Scooter King, that we approve the final site plan for guerrilla warfare paintball. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. 13B.
Okay, next on the agenda is a subdivision with improvements. This is Riverbank Subdivision, preliminary site plan. This is in Mr. Gary Talbert's district. Alvin Fairbank Associates, engineers. Recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Riverbank Subdivision.
Okay, this here happens to be in Mr. Gary Talbert, is that right?
Yeah, and I
Gary
didn't,
Talbert's district.
nobody contacted me negatively about it, and the planning commission said that it met all the requirements, so.
Okay. Anybody here from the audience to talk about this? Nope. All right, so is there a motion on the floor to approve the preliminary site plan for Riverbank subdivision? Anybody?
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion by Gary Talbot, accept preliminary, second by Bubba Harris. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, 13C.
Okay, subdivision with improvements. This is, in Mr. Scooter King's district. This is Mr. Carlton Oaks, second filing. I say Mr. Carlton the one developer, Mr. Carlton Oaks, second filing. Preliminary site plan. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Carlton Oaks, second filing.
Yeah, that's in my district.
Okay, this is in Scooter's district.
Heard from nobody on this, looks good to me, and the planning commission says, it's a go, so I make a motion to accept.
Got a motion on the floor to accept the preliminary site plan for Carlton Oaks, second filing. Anybody from the audience got anything to say about it? All right. Got a second by Jeff Ard. Got that. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. 13D.
Okay, next on the agenda is a commercial development. Eagle Elite Athletics. This is in Mr. Gary Talbert's district, Springfield Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Eagle Elite Athletics.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, got a motion on the floor by Gary Talbert to approve the preliminary site plan for Eagle Elite Athletics. Is there a second? Second by Bubba Harris. Any discussion from the audience on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 13E.
Okay, 13E subdivision with improvements. This is, in Mr. Scooter King's district, reserved at Eden Heights, preliminary site plan. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for the reserves at Eden Heights. And I might say they had some concerned citizens there, and I think it might be.
I didn't think we heard from anybody.
So,
Just kidding. Yeah, it's in my
Okay, is there
district, and
somebody
they
here that would like to talk
speak
about this?
it.
Come on up.
and we also have our engineer.
Just don't forget to state who
And
you
who
are,
you
where
are.
y'all live, and where y'all from, all that
Good to
wonderful
see
good stuff.
I'll try to make it short and sweet. And I need a new cover.
Oh,
My name's Darrell Bennett. I live in Summer Run Subdivision, Dunn Road. I'm here representing our homeowners association. We strongly oppose this development. We got started a petition to oppose it. Everybody in Summer Run has signed it, and surrounding territories. A little background on Summer Run. We were the first subdivision on Dunn Road 23 years ago. Today, I mean, all y'all know it's just exploded and growth down there. this is pretty much where we are, and this is where they're gonna try to squeeze in 72 lots on 22 acres. And, we have approximately, I think, 28 acres here, we have 30 homes. We have MODAD systems, this blue line right here, outline goes all the way around, and a ditch in the middle where the water currently runs out. Their proposal is to do the 72 lots and bring the water through Summer Run. So that's why we strongly oppose this. Second is the traffic impact. Right here, they're fixing to build a roundabout. So the traffic will be coming out in that roundabout, which, estimate 150 cars. So everybody on Dunn, traffic's just crazy down there, everything's crazy. So we're gonna be doing our petition, going up and down Dunn Road, getting signatures, that's it all. But, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I got this from the state. This is actually the roundabout that they're installing. And I don't know exactly when they're gonna start, but it's gonna be very soon. And
Any day?
Roundabout, you know?
Could be any day, right?
Yeah, but it's just the utility, most of them.
all the utilities are done. It's just when they get out there and start doing it.
Probably
But
after the first
Is the
year.
roundabout on Dunn Road?
Yeah,
Done.
when it done
Yeah.
Lockhart,
Done at
yeah.
Lockhart.
But the last thing is this right here. This is our ditch in the middle of our subdivision. Right now. We have, like I said, 28 acres. There's water that goes through this thing every single day from our MODAD systems. And what drainage comes in. Because going back, here's the beginning of the subdivision, here's the end. All water goes to the middle, comes down, goes up, and goes out to Dixon Creek. And that's in the middle, is this pipe right here. This pipe right here is going to drain over 50 acres of water. Just one thing. Now, in 2016, we had, I think, 25% of our homes flooded. We're actually very fortunate, because we don't live in a flood zone, but we did have an issue with the bridge that, has been addressed. But we do get rainwater when it rains hard, and people kind of, I won't say freak out, but they do. But, again, one pipe to drain over 50 acres of water. And that's pretty much all.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a question?
Appreciate it very much.
The property where they want to do this development, where does it run to?
The water just sits there. It's open field, it's got trees, it goes to, over here, you got Country Club Lane. This subdivision was developed in the 60s. And, but it's all open, and pretty much just sits there. And drains trees, it just soaks up. And, some comes over here a little bit, and it goes over there. But, they're gonna do a retention pond or drainage thing over here, and bring it down to here, and flow it over there. So, it's just a bad thing. We all knew it was gonna happen one day, because, I've been living there now for 23 years. Got horses back there, we've actually tried to negotiate with the owner there over the years to buy the land, but he always wanted to keep it. And in the original thing, this house, way up here, was supposed to be a road to keep going and develop all this. And 20 years ago, and we didn't have a problem with that, because it was all gonna be one neighborhood. But now after 16, they decided to sell it, and it's gonna cause chaos for us all. So. Anything else?
Is there any more, anybody else from the audience that would like to, speak on this particular agenda item?
This is the original plat right here. And so here are all the homes. The roundabout's gonna be right here. This is the pond, and this is our subdivision right here. And this is the ditch where they plan to run the water.
We have,
And one other thing, last week I was told they were requesting 3 waivers.
They were, well, they thought they were.
It was one big request.
One waiver?
One waiver. And that was actually to move more water off the road faster, but
That was
with
the
a different
culvert.
CD.
Catch basin?
Catch basin, but, because of waiver issue, we just decided to go back to what the parish requires.
I appreciate it.
We were told 3 waivers, and now there's none, so I know they gotta keep the project moving and all, but in the future, we're gonna be heavily lobbying different people. We're involved with the state right now for the roundabout, and it is a federal project also, so we are making contact with the feds now, so.
All right.
Cool.
You say you don't want the roundabout, is that what you're asking?
No, we don't have a chance, but
Yeah.
the road's gonna come out into the roundabout.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be a traffic impact, and Dunn Road's already messed up.
is, I got a question, but there's other people in the audience that wants to comment on this particular agenda item. Is there, did you have more?
Yeah, I wanna make a comment about the road program.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Dunn Road, like I said, we've been living there now 22, 23 years. The road program, I think, started in 1999. Dunn Road's fixing to get redone again, be the 4th time in 20 years. And I know it's heavily traveled, but I don't think our quality of roads are that great. There's no reason one road needs to be overlaid in 4 years.
The new program that we have in place, when we got in, we changed the whole bill
Yeah.
so that it's much better now.
Well,
They
that's
hold-
just
they
my
gonna hold
opinion.
up. Yeah,
Appreciate
you're
that.
right, you're
That's
right.
very
They were
good
pitiful.
information.
Yeah, they were
So-
terrible.
I was unaware of that. That's very good information. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers, that's right.
Okay, is there
Go
somebody
Parish.
else that would like to comment on this particular agenda item? Come on up.
My name is Deidre Sellers. I am a resident of District 6 and a founding member of AIM. My concern with actually all of these are whether or not they are in line with the master plan. Y'all voted the master plan into ordinance, and the master plan says, future parish decisions regarding growth and development shall be consistent with the comprehensive master plan, or the plan should be amended via the process and outlined in the plan. You all know my position on your second master plan committee, but my concern with all of these developments, and this one I can't imagine with 50 acres draining through one culvert, is consistent with the master plan, that we are in fact looking at the master plan right now as ordinance and making sure that things are consistent with that plan right now. Otherwise, it needs to be amended right now, before any other developments are approved.
I got a question. How wide is that ditch going through there?
That ditch is probably, oh, Ralph's got it all. He already did cross sections on everything.
Good afternoon, my name is Ralph Burgess. I'm with Civil Design and Construction. I'm the surveyor of record for the project, and I'll address a few of these questions that have come up. You were asking about the ditch that runs through the property. At the current time, the ditch is in different areas, 20-foot top bank with a 3 to 4 foot bottom with a 3 to 1, 2 to 1, and some areas got a little vertical slope on it that goes through there. Regarding the acreage that's going through, one of the things that we received today was actually a copy of the original drainage plan for their particular subdivision. It accounted for at least 20 some odd acres to go through. That's off-site. It goes through those culverts, which those culverts are 75 by 88 arch pipes, which is significantly bigger. As far as the drainage, this particular ditch heads at Lockhart Road, 450 feet west of our site, and it goes across our site itself into the subdivision and on out into Dixon Creek and down Dixon Creek back across Lockhart. Also, the site does slope from the northwest quadrant to the southeast quadrant of the property, and originally across the field, which was the field of Summer Run. It has an approximate fall of 1.5 to 2 feet from those dimensions, And when Summer Breeze, I keep Summer Breeze, there's a mini summer fields and all that all around there. Summer Run was built, the original ditch went across the subdivision in a southeast to southwest to the northeast direction, and it was rerouted for that subdivision also. So that the drainage originally of the whole area went across the subdivision. The drainage was accounted for in the subdivision design. There was some concerns, which I'll bring up, that was at the meeting last night about water coming in the back side of the property. Further review of the drainage, design drainage plan, there was, in these particular areas, is approximately 3.26 acres that's accounted to go in the back rear ditch of some of these lots in the back, and the north would be around lot 13 and 16, which is the northwest quadrant of the subdivision. We're actually going to take this 3.26 acres and dump it directly into our retention pond area. So we're actually taking water off of that ditch already in the perimeter ditch of the subdivision.
That's something you didn't talk about, like,
That's
you
something
didn't
that
know yet until today.
I didn't find that out till today.
They
Right.
should take a lot of that off the back of those cul-de-sac pipelines.
Correct. One of the things we've already done, we knew this was going to, when we had a pre-meeting with Mr. Sam, it was going to be a pretty hot button topic. We have done extensive survey work in the subdivision, around the subdivision. We've actually cross-sectioned everything out, all the way out to Dixon Creek also, and we're planning on sitting with the engineers after looking at the drainage impact study from Summer Run and looking at the drainage there. We're actually gonna go take sections and check y'all's bridge, y'all's new bridge y'all just built. And there's 2 box covers in the old, I don't remember, Wyndham subdivision?
Wyndham.
Yeah, it's Schmolly's old place. We're gonna check those box covers also. We have to abide by your laws and regulations for the storms, so we are planning to do that. One of the things we're trying to do is try to create a dry detention pond. That's unheard of, most y'all see are wet detention ponds. So we're trying to account for everything that's there. It is a hot topic area. Regarding the traffic, this roundabout, yes, we've already contacted DOTD. They are fully aware with it. I had started working with headquarters prior to 2016 when Mr. Walt Weller had originally did a layout, which was going to be north gates. And they have directed us to put the driveway, if you're looking at the plat, the driveway entrance at that location. Because there's a C of A in the roundabout. We cannot direct access the roundabout. We have to access it in the reverse, which is actually where you change the speed of the curve, speed of vehicles going into it. So we've already gotten what we need from the state, and we have to abide by the permitting process because it's whole access, no matter if we decide to come out on Dunn Road or come out on Lockhart, which we're coming out on Lockhart. This whole area would have to be, maintained and approved by the state because the state goes into Dunn Road 300 foot of access, the control of access in that area. And they bought right away in that area just recently, which he showed on the plot there. So if there's any questions I can answer further, I'll be glad to answer them to you.
Some question. The size of the lots, what's the width of those lots? I couldn't see it.
50 feet, they're 50 foot in width, 150 feet deep.
I got a phone call today from somebody in my district. I'm not sure why, but it was told that some of the houses were 2 feet from the curb.
Can't be.
Okay.
What's
We
the
have a
setback on the?
We have a 20 foot, the parish requires a 25 foot building line, and your roadway is 27 feet in a 50 foot right of way. So, I mean, you're talking about, I'm trying to do the math,
So
you're looking over 30 feet from the curb.
So from the street curb to the front of the house is what, 30 feet?
It's gonna be over 30 feet.
And you got 12 feet from house to house?
Yeah, cause our building lines, we have 6 foot building line, you talking side building lines?
Yes.
Yeah, 6 foot side building lines on this.
All right, last question I got, is the sewer, that's Ward 2 water, Ward 2 sewer?
No, it's sewer district. Ward 2 water is.
I'm still,
water.
it's sewer.
We were
sewer
putting a
district.
lift station in, and we've already contacted them. We're tying into their system.
So it's not going to MoDads into this canal, this ditch?
No, sir.
Okay.
Summer Run's probably one of the few, plus a few older houses that's not on a community system or a inside a system, which I have no idea why the sewer district hasn't gone in and did something there.
They're working on all of them, you gotta have the funding. And
Right. There's force mains all up and down there.
Right.
There's actually, in front of Lockhart, there's an 8-inch gravity line with a 12-inch force main.
And then down Dunn Road, there's a 6-inch force main runs down Dunn Road.
So
already.
Summer Run is like individual package
Yeah, they
plants?
still got.
Modality.
And this new development would have a lift station.
One single lift station. One
Is
point-
there any way possibility that maybe in the future, if that lift station's in, that Summer Run could access that lift station?
And that would be up to the sewer. There's going to be ties going to that area that can be extended if the sewer district, once they take the system over, they can do.
I was just curious.
Because you have a pump, either way, you would have a pump station at our location or right there at the creek. There's a pump station for Alderman Village and Wyndham that's there already. So they actually have an alternate to tie in either place. They just have to run their gravity.
I get it. Okay. Where you at?
You got a motion?
Nobody else?
I'll make a
Anybody
motion to
else?
accept it as,
There's a motion on the floor to approve the preliminary site plan for Reserve at Eden Heights by Scooter King,
I'll second.
second by Gary Talbert. All in favor? Any opposed?
Okay, council, next on your agenda is commercial development. Louisiana Highway 16 Boat Shop. This is also in Mr. Scooter King's district. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for the Louisiana Highway 16 Boat Shop, allowing gravel and giving him 2 years to hard surface his parking and drive.
yeah, I'll make, you wanna ask for any comments? Cause I'll make a motion to accept it as, with the waiver on this or the,
We need to see if there's any comments.
alright.
Is there any comments from the audience on this particular agenda item? No? Alright, we got a motion on the floor to approve the preliminary site plan with the waiver of letting them use gravel for a certain amount of time
2 years.
and pave it
Well,
thereafter.
They don't, after 2 years.
Mr. Sam, you gonna pull his occupancy permit in 2 years if he doesn't gravel that, doesn't put hard surface on that?
Sure.
Absolutely. That's what it is.
I second it. And it's just a driveway, right? Because he doesn't really have to have a parking lot if he doesn't want one.
Okay, did we
If
get
he
that
has
second?
it, we're gonna tell him how to build it.
Did we get that second?
Yeah,
I wrote that
Gary
down.
did.
Gary
I'll
Talbot.
second.
Gary already Talbot.
You third.
Third.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Okay, next on the agenda is a commercial development. This is also in Mr. Scooter King's district, Florida Boulevard Project, preliminary site plan. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Florida Boulevard Project.
What is Florida Boulevard Project?
Where is it?
What
is it?
Is that
I
where they're
can't
trying
tell
to
you.
stack all them office trailers together?
It's all those trailers. It's,
Exactly.
there's 5 trailers there now, and I think they've got, they're coming in with 3 more. They're gonna be bolted together. This is a recommendation with no waivers. We explained it to the owners last night that, you know, the setbacks and all that's gonna have to be fulfilled, the parking lot. So they are aware of that, so it was a recommendation of the planning commission to approve the preliminary site plan for this Florida Boulevard project.
That's right there, where
I'm
Legal
sorry.
Living used to be, on Florida.
Yeah.
Yes, right there in June Road.
My bad. You way down there like railroad tracks. Oh, good. Boy, you don't even know where you at.
Where the hot tamale shop was.
I had some questions about this, and Mr. Sam asked a few, and Joe Kozowski, the chairman, asked a few, and I think these ladies said it's gonna be office space.
I think that's what they did say it was
I
gonna be.
did have a question. I got several calls about this saying, don't let this go here. And I told them, I said, there ain't a, don't let this go here, but they wanted to know what it was gonna look like when you finish. Well, I'm hoping, but because they look rough right now, but I'm understanding y'all not just gonna move into this and make it look like that. Okay. Any more, I mean, you ready for a motion?
Anybody from the audience got anything to say about it? Nope.
I'll make a
So
motion
there's a
that we
motion on
accept
the
it.
floor by Scooter King, second by Bubba Harris, to approve the preliminary site plan for Florida Boulevard project with 0 waivers.
0 waivers. No drainage study was necessary.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
There you go.
Okay, next on the agenda is AT&T Mobility. This is in Mr. Shane Mack's
Yeah, this is
district,
great. We're gonna be able to use the cell phone, 1036.
but we're gonna defer it for a while.
We're gonna defer it.
It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to defer the preliminary site plan for the AT&T Mobility. They had they're not, I guess they're not fulfilling their obligation as far as the distance away from the property lines and from the state highway. So we're gonna wait till DOTD gives them a letter of recommendation because this is a state highway. Is anybody here with AT&T?
No. She knew you was gonna defer it.
Yeah, we're gonna defer it until later, till we get some information. So Shane, you're still gonna use those frames.
Can we defer it, can we defer it till they put a AT&T tower in Watson too? I mean, can we just make them contingent? They can't put the one in there till they put another one in Watson? I'm just trying to figure out if we can do
You're the
that.
governing body, buddy.
We was talking earlier about not being worried about yourself.
Well, there
I'm
was a
not
lot
worried
of
about
questions.
myself.
that
I'm
need
worried
to
about
be
all
answered.
them people in Watson that use AT&T.
Before we on item.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
we don't need a
defer that.
motion to defer, do we?
No, it's just
No.
deferred.
So we're gonna defer that until we have more information and clarification on
From DOTD.
setbacks from the, Department of Transportation.
And I did insist on Livingston Parish being put on their insurance policy
Yeah.
when all this comes together.
And she said
Before
there's
we
an
accept.
additional insured so that if something happens, we're good.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda is a waiver to have a 20-foot servitude instead of a 40-foot. This is in, for Mr. Charles Idale. This is in Mr. Jeff Avertt's district. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the waiver on the servitude for Mr. Charles Idale. And I might add, this is, the reason being, this is family property that they resubbing. And there's an existing trailer there where the servitude needs to be. The property across the street that naturally doesn't belong to them, so 20 foot's all they can give you, unless you move that trailer, and I don't think you wanna do that. So, it's a
Sounds good to me. I
recommendation
got
of the
one
planning
question,
commission.
though.
Sir?
I got a question.
Sure.
Okay, there's no state law that requires a 40-foot servitude if they're actually dividing this property, correct or incorrect? I mean,
We have
does anybody know the answer to that?
I think it's 20.
We have
isn't
a
it
parish
25?
ordinance that reflects that. Now, I don't know
And it
anything
was,
about state.
the parish ordinance, I thought, was a direct duplicate of a state requirement to have a certain size servitude
Our system.
to divide
Well,
property.
Sam, doesn't
Might be binding on the parish road.
doesn't DHH have a servitude requirement on
Yeah.
on properties with modads that they have to have access through? It's bigger than 20 foot,
I
isn't it?
think there's some state laws on that, guys. We might wanna defer this, and make sure that we're good, and then, cause I got one of these coming up in my area that I needed to look into. I mean, it's up,
So if
That
it's
was my
a
decision, but I-
DHH deal, and they can't give the 20, we pass it as 20, and DHH has gotta
Exactly.
figure out.
well, we just don't wanna,
It
say
wouldn't-
that again?
If DHH would be the only holdup, let's pass it with the
Just,
20.
we don't have the authority to override state law is all I'm saying. So
I'm
if it's
I'm
a
gonna make
state
a
law,
motion to pass it myself. I'll make a
And
motion.
they'll kick it back if they
I'll
don't want
second
it.
that.
Well, then it's up to the state to enforce it. They don't have to-
Right, not us.
I think if you grant them the waiver and DHA doesn't, I mean, that's their baby.
Right.
That's what I said.
I'll make a motion on that. Pass
Okay.
it.
I said.
Got a motion by Jeff Averett to grant,
Charles Idale.
Charles Idale a waiver on Coteau Plat Road.
Cocoa plot.
Coteau Plat, my bad. And, that second was by Scooter King. Anybody from the audience have anything to say about this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, next on the agenda is a waiver on the number of lots on a servitude. Watts 5 LLC, resub. This is in Mr. Tabb's district. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the resub and waivers for Watts 5 LLC, and that's an additional 2 lots on this resub.
That's some relatively large lots. So,
5-acre lots.
Yeah, big lots.
Some of them,
They're all big lots, yeah.
Big lots.
Yeah, they're all big lots.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Tab, but if it's a 61-acre tract, and you already got 9 on the private servitude, and they keep cutting it up, what's the cap? I mean,
they
what?
are in the process of getting a road in there built to proper stakes.
And I know some of those in that one there.
And that would eliminate the
It,
number on.
it was bought by
to
existing
become public record.
homeowners that's there now.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but my point is that we're getting ready to be lot number 9 on a minor resub deal, and the limit is how many not touching the parish road? It's 7 and 4? Is that it, Billy? Is it
Yes.
7 and 4?
7 if you got over.
5 if it's more than an
acre
acre.
lots.
5 if it's more than an acre?
Right.
And we up to 9, so what point in time is it the cap on this thing?
I agree.
I mean, is the
told them
cap
that, and
before this, is the cap is this the last one? I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'd say this is gonna be about tap it out, and they need to get their road up to spec.
But I do know some are tied into existing landowners that has houses there already that bought some of those.
Oh, no, I mean, I understand that, but I guess
And probably will never be a road on it.
What he's saying is, when are we gonna say when?
Yeah, I agree.
You know, we need to work on that in January, guys, and figure out what we're gonna do. Not you
Yes,
guys.
y'all do.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Tab Lobel to, approve the resub with the waiver of 9 lots on the servitude. That's, Watts 5 LLC.
I'll say.
And there's a second by Jeff Averett. Anybody from the audience? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. One more.
Okay, next on the agenda is a subdivision with improvements. Ellis Estates, this is in Mr. Jeff Averett's district. Off Buddy Ellis, it is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the revised preliminary plat for Ellis Estates. And, they went down on the lots. They were at around 270, and now they're at 217. So there was a substantial change there, so they went back to our engineers and got approval. So we went to the planning commission and now back to you for.
Yeah, I talked to him last night, and he said he should've went before, the one in my district, because it shows what happens whenever your drainage is not right. They didn't have enough retention, the drainage wasn't correct, they had to change it, the entire subdivision, which could very well happen in my.
To any of them.
Yeah,
And that's a good system. I mean,
It
yes,
works
it
right.
does not come back to you guys for a final review when the drainage impact study's done, like we talked about last meeting. But when it doesn't work, sometimes they have to make adjustments, and that's what they did.
They did.
So, that's why I'm back here trying to, ask you guys to approve a smaller, I guess, lots subdivision.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion, Shane.
All right. Motion by Jeff Averett to approve the revised preliminary plat for Ellis Estates, second by Mr. R.C. Bubba Harris. Any discussion from the audience? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Sam.
You can go home now.
You sure you don't wanna stick around for them calls? Go ahead, I'm just messing with you.
Agenda item 14, board reappointments. This is for Fire Protection District number 4. This happens to be in Mr. Jeff Ard's district.
Yes, I need to reappoint Mr. Leslie Fox for District 1 to Fire District 4. Talked to Chief Washington, and he's all for this, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, got a motion by Jeff Ard to reappoint Leslie Fox.
I'll second.
And Gary Talbert seconds it. Any discussion from the audience? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda item number 15. This is to adopt a resolution to reschedule the February 2020 council meeting due to Thursday, February 13th, falling on a PJAL, oh, that's the Police Jury Association of Louisiana Convention date. Okay, so it looks like this particular meeting is gonna fall on a date that majority of us are gonna be out of town, so we probably, it'd be a good idea to reschedule this.
Seeing that we don't have a quorum, that'd be right.
Yeah.
So we moving it up, Sandy?
So I
To the
gotta ask
first?
one quick question though. I'm sorry, the 13th. That's the second Thursday in February? Okay. So what do we wanna do? Do we wanna be the,
We're gonna
we
move
wanna
it to
go
the
to the,
sixth.
we're gonna what? Move it to the
We're gonna move it to.
February the 6th and have it the first Thursday of that particular month.
Is that what we decided?
What did we decide?
We have y'all calendar in there, that would probably be the best date, is to move it
fine
to
with
the
me.
6th.
Thanks, January has how many Thursdays? Is it 4?
That pushes it
July.
to be in every other week, moving into the sixth.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think January had 5, so.
It's nothing to do with us
That works out good.
January.
Nope.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so,
And 9,
I mean, I don't see where that's a bad idea. Does anybody have a problem with it? Moving the February 13th meeting to February the 6th, which happens to be the first Thursday in February.
yeah, we have an extra meeting,
Yeah, normally we would've had a 2 weeks skip, so we're just gonna go every other week. There'll be a 2 week skip in February.
Okay,
works out.
okay. Okay,
But,
so,
Deidre would like to make a comment.
so is there anybody from the audience that would like to comment on this particular agenda item?
Deidre Sellers, District 6. How many of y'all are gonna be out of town for the police jury conference? Well, I figured you, Mr.
Got drinking that weekend.
Right. Y'all aren't a police jury. Why are y'all attending this?
Well, it's a police jury, it's the association, it's still
It's for
called the
councilmen
police
and
jury,
police
but it's
jurors, they
council
just
and.
call it police jurors.
We're actually a member of the police jury association, but
every
even though we're a
It's
council,
actually-
every
it's-
parish has a member.
To the best of my knowledge, it's actually good because you learn a lot about how other police jurors operate. You
How
know,
not to
you can
do
bring
things.
some of that
Well,
back home
go
to
ahead.
maybe improve the way we operate.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sandy would like to say
I
something.
have a statement. We actually had an opportunity a few years back to vote to call it a parish council association. And the majority of the 64 parishes that belong to it voted to keep it police jury association.
Oh, well, thanks for that.
This
I
is
appreciate
all
that.
right. It's PJAF.
Some have the Larson Act.
I got you.
It's just
But it addresses
however-
both.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, covered.
They
Alright.
represent
Thanks.
us, they lobby for us.
I won't be going this year, so anybody in any district has a
I won't
problem,
either.
you can call me and I'll handle it.
Tam and Jeff aren't going either.
We might show up.
Okay, that was very good clarification, Sandy. You did an awesome
So
job.
we gotta do
So, y'all ready to,
a resolution.
make a motion on
Make a
this?
motion to move it to February.
Jeff R.
6th.
just made a motion to move this February 13th meeting to February the 6th. Did anybody?
We got a whole age
Second
grant
that
up
motion.
here.
Bubba Harris seconds the motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
He wasn't trying to say motion, he
No.
was trying to say crown.
I thought he was gonna start swinging.
I thought it was a jump change.
Okay, this is, number
Didn't take your
16.
Geritol
This is
this morning, that's
16.
what happened.
Discussion and adoption of a resolution to authorize waivers and variances for LP 19-03. This is, prohibits subsurface drainage, that particular ordinance. Now, this would waiver that and allow subsurface drainage inside subdivisions, with open ditches. So, we have one at 33469 Nancy Drive, Walker, Louisiana, 70785. We have another one at 10099 Summerfield Drive, Denham Springs, Louisiana. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item?
Nope.
God, I'm ready to go
Come
home.
on up, ma'am.
He's filling in for.
What?
Come on up. You're not ready to go home yet?
But, you know, you guys just talk about all this fun stuff. Okay, so I'm just gonna speak about waivers in general. I am Deidre Sellers, District 6 member, founding member of AIM. Gentlemen, when you grant waivers, you weaken our ordinances. I'm gonna be short and sweet about it. I would suggest that you rewrite or amend the ordinances in order to cover your bases rather than grant waivers. Thank you.
All right. Any comments from the council?
Thank you. Oh, I agree.
Any more from the audience? Nope. All right. All in favor to grant the waiver for the two addresses that are referenced
We can do them both at once?
earlier?
Yeah, all right. I checked mine out and it's right in
Wait,
between.
was there a motion? Was there a motion on the floor? I apologize.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion by Jeff Averett to adopt the resolution, to authorize these waivers, to allow this subsurface drainage to happen.
I'll second.
Second by Jeff Ard. All in favor? Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Nope. All right. Agenda item number 17, this is to adopt a resolution to place a three-way stop sign in Summerfield Subdivision. This happens to be in Maurice Scooter King's district.
Stop signs. There's 2 3-ways in there. I need a little help from Shannon Sloan on this. Summerfield at your road, what's the name of your?
It's
West
West Summerfield and Summerfield.
Summerfield?
West and south is the one they're at.
And then the one on the other corner.
It's Summerfield and south.
You got that, Sandy? That's where they need to go. That's what we're asking for. Thank you.
Well, we have one at Summerfield and south.
On that corner? I went through there yesterday. I didn't see it. Well, that's why
You ran
everybody's
a
blowing
stop
through there.
You ran a stop sign.
All right.
West and north.
West and north is where the.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about on the other end where the little T comes out.
That's not three-way, that's a two-way.
It's a two-way because it just does, well, no, it's got the leg.
Not on West.
Anyhow, we're gonna put some at two, we're gonna put them in all of them in summer.
Okay, so this here
We're
resolution
gonna put them in all of them.
would
in summer.
authorize to place the three-way stop signs in the subdivision.
I
So
took-
all you have to do after this is approved is call them and tell them where you want.
Right,
Okay,
thank you.
so, anybody more want to discuss this or not?
No.
Okay.
Wait.
Should've waited till you came up.
Shannon Sloan, 9943 West Summerfield. So I live on West Summerfield, and he's talking about putting a stop sign because people turn too fast. I mean, it's a 90-degree turn. I don't think it's necessary, but, I mean, it's not
I
worth
don't
fighting
either.
over.
It's-
But I'm curious how much they cost.
They're not
500
much,
or-
it's, Mr. Sam could answer that completely. It's-
So you're gonna put one at the corner
You
of
look
North
at-
Summerfield and West Summerfield,
No,
which is a 90-degree turn. She's right.
No, that ain't where I'm talking about.
they're
Down
talking
here.
west
Right there.
and south, which is
West
also.
and south intersect each other.
Yeah, but
Right.
right there, ain't there a T right there?
No,
Yeah.
there,
No, right here, see that T? That goes into the
So-
lakes at Summerfield,
okay,
people are blowing through here.
but West Summerfield and South Summerfield would require a three-way stop sign.
Right, that's the one we want.
Yeah, right now it just has it on one.
This one,
On
there's
south.
only
Oh,
one
so
right
you're
here,
gonna,
there's nothing going
so
this
you're
way.
gonna make it a three-way stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking, the problem is turning off of west onto south,
Right.
because people are going too fast. It's pointless.
Well, no, what
But-
the gentleman told me was that going towards your house from lakes, that there's no stop sign, so how many people
People
do
don't
it?
go
Not many.
there. People don't go there. It's pointless,
Well,
but
somebody, the man's dog got run over because nobody had to even check up right there.
because his dog was
His
out
dog
and
shouldn't have been
he
in the
shouldn't
road,
have been out.
but he told
Yeah,
me that. He
that's
said,
the
my
real
fault, but what if it was a child? I said, well, we can pay the money for a stop sign.
But how much are they? I'm just curious.
Well,
Do we
can find
know?
that out.
I don't know the answer to that.
Hold
I
on,
wouldn't
hold
suspect
on.
they'd be more than $100.
Because we make our own
Really?
signs, and we just order a bulk number of posts,
Yeah.
so,
Now,
I
is
wouldn't
it
think it'd be more than
possible
$100.
for residents to put a sign up, like on the corner of North and West, where it's just a 90-degree curve with no stop sign?
on the other end,
That in front of my
How much
house,
a
my
stop
corner.
sign?
to say,
If we could put like a
What
slow down
ballpark, what's a
sign,
stop
just
sign
as
cost?
residents,
Yeah.
because animals get hit in front of my house all the time.
I mean, we
Because
can
of
get-
this, it's
Okay,
the
then.
same
You don't
reason.
have to do it. The
Somebody
parish
just
can do it.
asked the question.
Well, but I mean, by that logic, the reason we're doing it on the other one, the same thing applies to that one.
Right, right.
No,
I can check-
I'm
I'll
good. I
check
just
and
asked.
see,
All
he's
right,
finding
thank
out right now how much.
$28 for 18 inch.
For the post and everything?
We've got them in stock.
But so we're not talking
They have
about
a
a lot
whole
more.
bunch of extra T-posts left over for people not picking up the campaign signs. They'll just take one of those. But I would
They
check
got
on
a
that.
zip tie though, I mean.
Yeah, I'm just,
I mean,
no, just curious.
I think, yeah, I think they're less than $50 a sign.
Okay, so,
Then in that case, can we do north and west?
Yes, ma'am.
It's because the same logic
I
applies.
agree. Yeah,
So,
'cause it's
so
not
we,
much
so
money.
you wanna put a
Two,
two-way stop at north and west,
yeah.
and then you're gonna put a three-way at south and
South
west?
and west.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
I
I'll
don't
second
even,
his
can I
motion.
say one more thing? I
Yes,
don't know
ma'am.
that you necessarily need a stop at the two-way, even maybe slow down or something, because
Yeah,
it's a
but
90-degree
to make
turn.
it, to make it legal, you gotta have a one or the other. You can't say slow down.
And you can put stop signs when it's just one turn, and it's just a two streets?
Well, yeah, this road coming out to here,
Yeah, I mean, they're not, yeah, it's a curve.
that's on your end?
hmm
By the
It's a-
little cul-de-sac turn-in thing where they,
No, I'm not by that.
Yeah, you can put a stop sign and a hard curve on one.
It's just, it's a 90-degree curve.
Yeah.
And people go 40 miles an hour around it.
You can put a stop sign.
yeah.
do we need to defer this so you can go out?
You
No,
want
we
me
made
to
a- we
defer
made a
to the
motion.
next
We
meeting,
made-
and then we can go out there and walk it and look at it.
It doesn't
Yeah, let's
matter,
do
it
that.
doesn't matter.
Okay, never mind.
Okay,
Hey,
so we got a
Mr.
mo-
Sam wants you
what are we doing?
We don't know.
defer.
Defer.
No,
Okay.
defer.
Just vote it in.
Vote it in, and then we'll go figure out which ones we got to have.
All right,
What do you think, Chris? It's a resolution, it's not a law, so we just,
okay, so we got,
one question, I'll make a motion to do it. Somebody second me, I think Gary did.
we got a motion on the floor by Scooter King to install the stop signs.
It don't matter.
Summerfield
I ain't gonna confuse
Subdivision.
DPW 'cause I'm
We're gonna make that.
Second by
I'm gonna
Gary
go with the
Talbot.
sign man.
And if there's no more discussion from the audience, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything, from the district attorney? Representative?
Did he say number 4? No.
19,
Yeah.
this is the committee reports. Mr. Gary Talbot is the ordinance committee chair. Do you have anything to say, Mr. Gary?
The committee met today, and the first thing we did was recommend that we're gonna have an ordinance for introduction on the 19th, which basically says a subdivision with or without improvements cannot have a lot subdivided in it anymore after the final plat. And then, you saw we recommended on the grinder pump deal to table it and look at it, go a different direction to try to address that. And, thirdly, we deferred the speed hump because we're working on the specs. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct.
Okay,
We're gonna have to wind up-
that's what we did.
We're gonna wind up putting some real time into this. So, finance committee, we kinda hashed out, oh, go ahead, Tracy.
Go back to item 11, everything we discussed, that's the finance committee report for the day.
Yeah, well summarized. Does anybody else, from the audience have anything to say?
I'd like, on the council comments, I'd like to wish the Southeastern Lions and the LSU Tigers and the Nichols Colonels good luck Saturday.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Concur.
And I'm really pulling for the Colonels. but-
Anybody else wanna talk about anything?
Yeah,
Like,
I like that.
Making a motion to adjourn.
motion by Jeff R.
Second.
Check out the
to adjourn
volleyball
this
section
meeting.
in the paper.
Second
Tracy
by,
Girlinghouse.
second by Tracy Girlinghouse. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
You in the volley, you got a picture in the volleyball section?
I said, check out the volleyball